right there, you might as well be parked. I'm just saying.
At least
Never
over
mind.
here, Mr. Jones, with the rest of them.
He's getting started.
He getting his back on.
Yeah, see, that's why I ain't want to bother. That's why I ain't want to bother. Teray.
Getting his back on. It's time to start.
Hey, look.
Y'all funny, man.
Michael.
My microphone.
You can turn it off.
We too far apart. I can't turn it up the jets.
Teray.
Look, I can't take this serious. I can't take this serious.
Y'all gonna let us start this meeting or what?
No, we don't need that. We don't need that.
I'm going to get it.
Oh, yeah. ASAP.
Everybody ready, though? Okay.
We got quorum? Yeah, we
All
got
right. Good evening. I would like to call the Flint Board of Education Committee of the Whole meeting to order at 6:31 p.m. Board members, as I call your name, please say present for the record. Hold on, let me get my pen. Sorry about that. Treasurer Luna? He's here. Yeah, he's here.
He's here. He just
Trustee Rutherford? She's not here yet. Trustee King?
Present.
Okay, Vice President McNeil?
present.
Assistant Secretary Treasurer McIntyre? Secretary Perkins?
Present.
And myself, President Clark, I am present. So, the board will now hear comment from the public. We ask that you state the reason for addressing the board and that you limit your remarks to 3 minutes on matters within the authority of the board and not address individuals by name. The presiding officer of the board, thank you, sir. The presiding officer of the board shall have the right to limit the number of persons who may address the board on the same subject. Please state your name and address before beginning to speak. Is there anyone who would like to address the board? Right now I have Ms. Blacknall.
President Clark, if you could just remind people to speak into the mic because the acoustics are,
Different
I
in here.
can't really hear much
Yeah.
of anything.
Ms. Blacknall, could you please make sure, right here, could you please make sure you speak directly into the mic because we don't have, yes ma'am.
Hello. My name is Marie Blacknall. I am a behavior specialist at Brownell Elementary School, and I am here to represent the support staff of Flint District Schools. This is a request for help.
Thank you, sir.
We want to correct an injustice that has been done to the support staff of Flint Schools. We asked for compensation which was given to the Flint School staff for the ESSER funds for the COVID during the pandemic. We worked just as hard as the other employees in the district, the teachers, paraprofessionals, principals, yet we were overlooked for our strong efforts and sacrifices during this time. If it were not for our work and the virtual learning that took place would not have been implemented. We are the ones that went to the doors, knocking on people's doors, talking to the people, handing out the iPads. We were, they were contracted COVID, and we were putting our lives at risk and our family members at risk during this time. We were interacting with the scholars and the parents. As a result, like I said, several support staff members contracted the COVID. This is very unfair. Our lives are important too. We understand that we work for EduStaff, a third-party contract company with the district. However, we are sure that the board can be creative in finding the words needed so that we may be able to receive our fair share of the COVID funds. There is, it's an understanding, we have an understanding that there has been some funds left over from the COVID CARE ESSER funds that must be spent before the summer 2023, or the district will return the funds back to the state of Michigan. Therefore, we are requesting that the support staff be considered for these funds. These funds be directly paid to us and equivalent to what the other staff members received. Someone said that this is a dead issue, but at this point, we're looking for a solution. However, as long as the state of Michigan is sending funds to the school district, we think that there should be some effort in compensating us for the work and the efforts that we have put in. And, you know, just thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blacknall. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? Come on forward, ma'am. Please state your name.
Marla Settle. I'm an attendance agent at Brownell STEM Academy. I am part of the support staff team. So I'm coming to ask the board to help us get help from EduStaff. EduStaff does not pay us one sick day. We have no sick time. We have no holiday pay. When we go out for Christmas, we're off for a whole month with no pay. Now, the 4 components, behavior specialists, attendance agents, secretaries, and parent facilitators are 4 major components that help run Flint Community Schools. If those 4 components decide to walk out the door, your schools won't run. Whether you think they will or not, they won't run without those 4 major components. Behavior specialists attend to the behavior issues. Attendance agents goes out and knocks on the doors and say, hey, where your babies at? We need them here. We sit in court and negotiate to get the children in school. The secretaries do a whole lot. The parent facilitators bring the parents in so that we can give them these resources that we have so they'll have their children in school. The support staff cannot keep being overlooked. And EduStaff, the third party that Flint Board decided to use to pay us, they don't care about us. We need the people who pay them to care about us. We need Flint Board to say, hey, our support staff helps us. We need y'all to do something different. We need you to back us to get them to give us, we work for every paycheck, we get 1.64 hours of sick time. Now, if my mother dies today, I can't use that sick time to go out. Because guess what? It's only used for medical. It's not used for bereavement. It's not used for if my grandson is down at Ronald McDonald and I gotta go back and it's not used, I can't use it for that. I can only use it for if I'm sick. And if I'm sick more than 3 days, I gotta have a doctor's note. And I'm only allotted 40 hours for a whole year. That's it. So we need Flint Board to get on EduStaff and make EduStaff do something about their third-party contractors who does the majority of the work for Flint schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board?
Good afternoon, well, good evening. My name is Yvonne Payne, and I am a support staff for the Flint Community Schools. And I'm piggybacking on what Ms. Blacknall said. We worked really hard during the time of COVID. We think we deserve some of that ESSER money. And if it doesn't come through ESSER, we want you guys to be creative and find us some money. We don't care what budget it comes from. As long as you can call it a gift, you can call it a stipend, you can call it a grant, whatever you want to call it. As long as you pay us, we'll be okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Payne. Is there anyone else? Okay. So thank you to all the speakers. At this time, we'll have a presentation from Clark Construction. Could you please come forward?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dan Metner. I'm the project manager for Clark Construction. We're here tonight just to give a little update of where we're at currently and where we're going in the future for the work here in Flint. So currently, Doyle Ryder right now, we've got some restroom and stairwell upgrades. The restrooms, we did some epoxy flooring, wall paint, new LED lighting, new ceiling tiles, plumbing fixtures, new mirrors and partitions and accessories. We're wrapping that up and we should be done here in the next 3 weeks. So by the end of the month, we'll have that wrapped up, along with some upgrades to the stairwells. We put in new LED lighting, which has a dimmable, motion activated. So when the stairwell has no one in it, it'll dim to 30%, and then when it senses people, it'll go to 100%. We also painted the walls and the handrails in there. The next update, parking lot improvements, big item. Doyle Ryder, the front parking lot is complete. The back lot will be pulverized Thursday and Friday, and we'll start working to repave that. Holmes parking lot is complete. Striping is scheduled for this week, the end of this week. Eisenhower, the lot has been milled. We'll be pulverizing that rest of that lot Thursday and Friday. Concrete work is complete. We'll be paving the week of the 17th. Accelerated learning, the lot has been milled. Pulverizing will take place the 13th and 14th. The concrete demolition is complete. Electrical demolition is also complete. New electrical work will start with the pole bases the week of the 17th, and we'll be paving the week of the 24th. Pierce, the demolition is complete. Reshaping and grading will be done the week of the 10th, so it's being done currently. Paving is the week of the 17th. Freeman, milling is complete. Concrete demolition work is underway currently. Paving will be the week of the 24th. And then Nethercut, the milling is complete with pulverizing 13th and 14th. New concrete is in place, and regrading and shaping will take place next week, with the paving being started next week. Yes, sir.
I received questions from some community members and board members about the fact that we just paved Holmes, and we have already had cars and donuts being done on it and leaving items from fireworks and things like that. One of the questions that came up is it possible to do speed bumps or something that can possibly stop some of the actions that's happening in our newly paved areas? What would be your suggestion?
It'll only be effective at the entrances. It'll be applied after the fact because we've already paved it. So either it's going to be post-applied, something that will cause problems for your snow plowing, or you could do like a gate. We've done gates in parking lots before where you just gate them off at night so people can't drive in them. Done that before. Speed bumps don't really, they're effective until people can get around them, I guess.
Thank you.
Clarification. You said some districts use gates.
Yes.
What kind of gates?
Just, they're just swing gates with a single
Little
pole,
bars?
just enough to keep the cars out. When
Okay,
they
I just
don't
want to
cars
make
in them.
sure some districts do that, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Other ones just freely let people go in their parking lots and monitor it, and it's,
not keep out bikes and ATVs.
yeah, bikes, walking, ATV, I mean, they like keep out the cars.
Trustee Rutherford?
Okay. Just a quick follow-up. So with emergency services, in your experience, the emergency services with the gated districts in some cases, how does that work?
Either they have the key to it or they just run through it in the event of a fire.
Yeah, the key.
We'd want to talk with Flint Public or fire and police to ask them what they would like.
Okay.
Typically when there's a gate and a fire truck is in, they just run through it.
So there's a gate basically there.
Not really.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think it's that fan. We're gonna try to.
It's the fan, but
Can you just cut the fan off until they need it? Thank you.
There's no air here. Well, we need that now. Cut that off.
We'd want to engage Flint Fire and Police to talk to them about what their requirements are, because they do need to access in the event of a fire or in the event of an emergency. Typically, when there's a gate in place on a auxiliary lot or a lot they don't want people on. I think there's two of them going, that's why. We just want to engage them to talk to them about what they would like to do. I think it's hard to keep foot traffic out of, other than doing donuts. I mean, it's hard to keep foot traffic and bikes, like you said. So we'd correct one problem and maybe have another.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. First of all, hello. I know the city of Flint is doing an initiative where they're putting down speed bumps. Is there any way we could partner with the city to have some temporary speed bumps put down and in the wintertime pull them up? That's to you, Mr. Jones. Not to you, Mr. Jones.
I would definitely check with the city.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I can respond.
Okay. Vice President McNeil can have.
I contact the councils, a couple of councils at the city, and we will have to pay for the speed bump. However, their concern would be in those areas that's not highly secured, that they can pick those speed bumps up and move them. He did recommend, one of the council, that while you guys are doing the parking lot, is it possible when you have the asphalt that you go ahead and make a speed bump in parking lot? Just build one when you're doing the parking lot?
So she left out when you were explaining your thoughts behind that, so would you kind of reiterate?
Oh, okay, I won't.
Yeah, that's okay, that's okay.
So that's gonna be a problem, but we would have to purchase them, and they gave me a couple of places that we would have to purchase it and buy the speed bumps if we wanted to do it. They just don't give them away.
Got a follow-up to that?
Trustee
Would our 31A funds, would that be considered a part of security where we could go and use those funds for it?
We can look into it for next year,
Okay.
yeah. Respect for this year.
Any more questions about parking lots?
Oh, I do. Sorry.
You got another one?
I do want to say I thank you. I've driven by all the parking lots, seen them all, either resurfaced or tore up a little bit. I always believe in got to be a mess first before it become great. So I really appreciate, the car construction. I met one of the contractors last week. It was a great guy. He was talking to one of the neighbors at Freeman, making sure he was okay with the construction. It was just, the community loves it. And I'm glad our board took on that initiative to get it done. Thanks.
So the next one is the Potter Elementary Auditorium renovation. So right now, the demolition is complete inside. Everything is demoed. The roof demolition will start on August 11th. We had a delay with the decking that we had to purchase. New roof will be complete 8/25. Interior work will begin the following week. And the new rooftop unit will be on site around the 13th of November to install that.
And why is it taking so long?
The lead time to get the roof decking, so the roof decking had to be completely removed. So we haven't done that until we could put it back because it's unsafe condition if we don't.
We wanted to verify the thickness of the roof before we ordered it, and luckily we did because it was it was 8-inch versus 6. So we waited to remove and start investigation, and that's when we discovered the 2-inch difference.
So moving on, Washington Elementary demolition. So the bid package was issued on July 6th. Sealed bids are due at 11 a.m. on July 27th at the Kearsley Street Admin Building. Bid opening is at 1 p.m. on the 27th at Kearsley Street. Also, it's available online, so there's a link within the bid package that allows people to go online and actually watch remotely. Post-bid interviews will occur the July 28th through August 1st. We will be back on August 9th for our first meeting with you all to review the bid tab. And then our second board meeting will be August 16th. We'll be seeking approval to award contracts. Contracts will be awarded the week, actually the 17th through the 23rd of August we'll award contracts. Demolition will begin August 30th with completion at August 6th. Or October 6th, yeah. questions relating to the Washington demolition? All right, go ahead.
I have one question. Has it taken a bit longer than you thought, or is it right on track?
Preparing the documents took a little longer just because of the existing conditions within the school and putting it all together and getting the care plan, because the building is unsafe, so we have to treat it all as contaminated material. So it took a little longer to get the care plan put together to get this out to bid.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair? Quick thing, with the removal of the asbestos, do we have a designated spot picked out, or do the bidder have to designate a spot?
It all goes to a certified landfill. So the whole building will go from grade up, will go to a certified landfill and will be tracked per state guidelines.
Okay. Also, I put it on the record, I mentioned at the Finance Subcommittee, I would like to see the air quality reports after it's done. That's what I want to see that. Thanks.
Any other questions? All right, moving on. Holmes STEM Academy. So this is the work scope right now as we're wrapping up schematic design. So we're a full building roof replacement of exterior doors and windows, secured entry, relocation of the main office, plumbing upgrades, full building HVAC upgrades, fire protection upgrades, electrical upgrades, fire alarm upgrades, new building PA system, full building lighting upgrades, full building ceiling replacement, and then we got painting of the corridors and classrooms, and then also renovation of the existing main office as it currently in its current location. So that is currently the scope for Holmes.
Ask your question, sir. Can I ask your question?
Yes.
Was all this on the last presentation you all gave us as it relates to Holmes?
Yes.
I guess my concern is Holmes was just renovated 5 years ago for the STEM program. And, yeah, because Mott put money in there, and also in the audit of 2022, $3 million was allocated to the middle school. So I guess my question is, what are we doing now? I know you guys may not can answer that question.
The HVAC systems as a whole are from the day the building was built. The way the current system is configured, it's all like down.
Talk about the PA system?
No, the entirety of the HVAC all the HVAC equipment in the building. The heating and cooling, the heating system in the building is from 1960, whatever day that building was built.
So why, okay, I guess my question to you all is, Holmes, I haven't heard any issues with Holmes except for the roof. And with Holmes being our feeder school, which is the middle school, which will cripple a district, why now with you all? Was it a request for Holmes, or you all just want to do Holmes right now? My concern is a beautiful building, but no longer a district. And with, I'm still talking.
Point of information.
What's your question?
With this, I'm not sure this question
It's for them.
is for them. Could we perhaps direct the question towards someone who could answer it? I mean,
They
it's
can
not
a-
really within their scope of work.
My question is, I'll just make it simple. Why can't the students be in the building?
Because we have to renovate, we have to go and tear every ceiling out of that building and walk through that entire building.
You can't do it while the building is closed during the intercession.
No, there's not enough time.
Excuse me?
There's not enough time in intercession.
So why do it now? That's my question.
Because that's what was, we requested to do.
You were requested to do that?
We requested to do a
Okay,
full
that's all
facility
I,
assessment.
thank you. That's all I needed to hear. Thank you.
Yes, Vice President McNeil.
For the public and for, to update some of the board, when we approved the strategic plan with the previous board, we had talked about different schools that need to be renovated. Johnson Control did the HVACs. During the water crisis, I think we had a few $1 million came in for STEM. You can correct me, Mr. Jones. But we're doing a totally different renovation. Holmes and these other schools was already voted for and in the allocated funds to do these renovations. Because we was given till September to 2024 to use these funds, so we have to give them back. We do not have a lot of time. We wasted almost a year during the pandemic and everything else. So now we're pushing for time. If we look at our strategic plan and we voted to expedite the 6-month plan, all these renovation was included in it. From my knowledge, when we was doing homes, we had Plant Moran, Crescent. We did all the surveys and stuff. We knew that home was coming up, and Brownell. Holmes and Brownell was on our next list. And because of the, we do not have a holding school that is required by the state. So we decided to, working with the superintendent, he decided you guys would do it the way that you're planning. So you guys would have the answer to a lot of those questions because they was already voted, pre-voted in our strategic plan, and Mr. McIntyre can explain the rest. So.
Yes, Trustee McIntyre.
Yeah, so thank you for coming up and giving us an update, because that is indeed what we asked for, and that is the response to the update. Is this working? Okay. But yeah, you're not responsible for talking about a strategic plan that we've been working on for over a decade and the details of that. I mean, your job is construction and overseeing project management, so I really appreciate your time and patience with this. Now, for the board and for the superintendent, these are perhaps internal questions that if there are questions about, we could work on amongst ourselves and not maybe badger some of the third-party contractors that we've, had to work with.
Point of information, who's being badgered?
I said perhaps badger.
Maybe you shouldn't use that word,
I used it. It's,
but you should.
agree.
Thank you.
But thank you for that, and then if we can have a discussion maybe amongst ourselves in terms of maybe going over, superintendent, the strategic plan, because we do have a 6-month focus, and maybe to remind board members of what that focus is, and maybe have a review of some of the scope of work that was done previously before this particular board composition, so that we can get everybody up to date on what has been done, because I know it's really, I know that I'm confused when you talk about, okay, the roof is done, but when we talked about, say for example, Doyle Ryder, I mean, I understand that there were like some technical things about, well, it's not actually a roof because it doesn't meet the top of the joint of this and that, and so it's technically not a, it's not new building versus, I mean, I understand that. There are these restrictions that have been imposed on us that are beyond our control, and we are all working together to try to get this money spent so that we don't have to give it back, and it's very specific, and it's designed to make us fail so that we don't spend this money, and so that we are kind of hamstrung with what we can do with it. Wouldn't it have been nice if the ESSER money had been unrestricted and each school district around the country could have used it for what it would best be used for, so that we didn't squander and waste public resources? But instead, we had these very strange, specific criteria that kept shifting, and the goalposts kept shifting. So I appreciate the work of everybody. Let's just get together and get this done before the sun sets on the sunset dollars, I guess.
President?
Yes, Treasurer
May I speak?
Luna.
I would agree, you got to get it done, and you guys are doing a great job getting it done. My only concern is, in the future, are we getting all these things done? We may have to close one of these schools, so that's always in the back of my head. But we talked about that a few meetings ago, so I know you guys have thought about that as well. Not to go too far off topic, and I had this discussion with you. Once you get a more robust executive cabinet, I would love to have maybe a monthly update on the plan and the 6-month focus. But I get it, it'll take some time. I'm looking forward to it.
Vice President McNeil.
Help me to explain that for building HVAC upgrades. And when we did an HVAC, my experience in engineering, vehicle designer, that's what I understand that part of engineering. But I didn't understand that part of that we paid Johnson Control to do HVAC, and you guys are coming in and saying that you're doing a full building HVAC upgrade. So what was that Johnson Control was supposed to be doing?
Thank you.
Because my understanding, did we do homes, Mr. Jones?
It was in the scope of work when 2 superintendents ago, when they did the bond. Holmes was in the scope of work. The same exact question that you just asked, I asked, and tried to understand why are we doing HVAC at all?
They did the presentation. Johnson Control came before the board with all the schools that we had allocated those funds from, I think it was around in ESSER too, doing these HVAC. So if you guys are saying that there's not HVAC system, they did the air conditioning and all of that, we need to know because my understanding they did the boilers, am I correct?
Yep.
Over there?
Let's-
We know there was an issue with Brownell because they share the same grid, but the presentation, and if we can go back and pull those slides up, that HVAC is there. So that's something that we might have to look into. Is you speaking about a full building HVAC? My understanding, Johnson Control, we paid them pretty good money to do that.
What I've seen from Johnson Controls is they put mini splits and brooms, and they work through some of your control stuff, some of your controls issues. That, I mean, you're still on full old pneumatic systems. We're still creating steam at homes, which is 60s, you know, technology. I can't heat the building without putting units in every classroom because of the way it's designed. It's designed to be a big system that runs all the time. And that's some of the reason why
I got all
the
that.
building costs so much money to heat all year long because it's inefficient. We're going to make this thing efficient. We're going to make it run the way it's supposed to run. It's fighting against each other right now.
So point of information to you, Vice President McNeil. So are you suggesting that the district paid Johnson to do a complete HVAC renovation that hadn't been completed? Is that was?
No, they did not do a complete
My bad.
workup. They did not do a complete overhaul, but Holmes was in the scope of work in, I think it was 2018. Yep, Holmes was in the scope of work when this deal was done, but they did not do a full renovation of the HVAC system.
Point of information again.
But it Brownell they did.
Was the board under the understanding that it was being a complete,
I'm not sure what that.
was the board under understanding that they were gonna get a complete roof at Holmes, new roof at Holmes?
You talking about the previous board?
Yeah.
The roof didn't have anything to do
I
with it.
mean,
It
I'm
was
sorry, I'm
the
HVAC. I'm sorry, I'm tripping.
I'm not
HVAC.
sure what the previous board that approved that, and it really wasn't the entire board from you guys took over, it was other board members, right?
My question.
I'm not sure.
Point of information. Can't Mr. Henderson provide us with the work orders for Holmes? That way we'll know exactly what happened at Holmes.
From the past,
It must be documented when a building is touched.
we can do that.
That will answer all our questions. I guess that was my question.
And I agree with trustee Bradford, as well as have Johnson Control, Mr. Johnson come back before the board, present those presentations that they showed us, and everything in it, so we can see what else that our construction needs to do, and maybe Johnson Control might have to do something else. Like I said, our boards and stuff like that, we just went on what they showed us, Mr. Black, and, we just went on what they showed us, and the work that they showed us.
Did you have another question?
Steph,
So
Oh,
Trustee Rutherford had
I
one more
guess,
question.
was it me? Well, I guess my question is, if Johnson Control touched Holmes and you guys come back and touch it, that'll negate a whole lot. I just don't think it's a good idea for Clark to touch Holmes if Johnson Controls worked on the HVAC and it's not correct. It sounds like we're double dipping and paying double for the same thing, or am I misunderstanding?
I
Point of information,
I'm sorry.
not to Mr. Jones. Is my mic not on?
I can't hear you. Testing, testing.
Okay, so is it possible to still get this scope of work finished?
Yes.
And recoup the funds from Johnson, or to go look at that situation and not uproot what's going on here?
So I do agree with the fact that we can go back and look at the contract
Okay,
for what Johnson Control's done. It doesn't stop the work that needs to be done
Right,
for the
right.
north end of Flint and for our babies at Holmes. But I do agree that we look at the contract and what they were supposed to do, and then look at the warranty of that work, which I know that we're already in progress of doing that, to see what it is that's covered. But basically, the work that they've done is the work that they've done is somebody agreed to it. Somebody agreed to the work that they've done at
The inspectors, and they came through and checked it.
Correct. So it was agreed to. We need to look back to see if what was agreed to matches what's in the contract. But I don't think that it stops us from doing
It
the work
won't,
that needs to be done.
And we know that there was big issues with Brownell because of the ceiling, and I know they had, with Holmes, they had some issue with HVAC. But like I said, we need to go back and look, and then we have attorney to bring Johnson Control before, once you tell us what we're looking for.
I do have one question. Is Brownell's HVAC system just as old as Holmes is?
Well, some of the boilers are newer. The delivery system for the heat is the same. It's all, once you drop, so basically the way it's sitting is you have a ceiling panel, you have tubes over top that the hot water runs through. It's a downdraft system, so the air from a big air handler pushes the air over and heats the air. Well, what happens is your ACs are blowing in there, they're just blowing up in. So,
Mr. President.
and once I drop the ceilings, I have to do fire alarm, I have to do PA. Those things won't go back up.
Which, while you're up there, you may as well do the,
So once I touch that piece, I gotta touch it.
And,
So new hot water lines, basically your steam side is still from 1960. They didn't replace any pipes.
okay, Treasurer Luna.
So I got two questions, they'll be brief. Through you to Mr. Jones, what is the current, how do I phrase this right? How is the current HVAC system at home serving the students and staff there? Like, what's the condition? Maybe that's a better question, Mr. Hamble, but I assume you know.
So it's okay. They're not.
Well,
They'll be up. They're going to talk shortly,
but
so I will
for this,
bring them.
For this, though.
But it's not a lasting system.
Okay.
We have some things that even when you talk about Brownell, that's makeshift, and even some of the board members that's here, they felt like some of that is makeshift.
Yeah, I remember when I was coaching there, you can see them hanging from the.
Right, but the goal is years from now.
It's an investment.
That's the goal. The goal is the investment, and years from now, being able to bring our schools into a modern space and get them working efficiently.
Okay, and I get that our schools are built in the early to mid 20th century, and we live in the 21st century world. My second question is for you all. Could you explain what this will do to enhance the quality of life in the schools once that's complete, in regards to the HVAC system?
You'll have regular air changes in the building, the way that the current code is. It's not gonna be up to current code, so you'll have so many air changes an hour in each room. Each room will have its, I think it's 4 to 6, yeah. I didn't want to quote it because I didn't look it up before I got here. Each room, so right now Stantec is designing the full system for the district. We're putting a unit vent in each classroom, so if a piece goes down, the entire building doesn't go down, right?
Right.
So if you have one bad unit vent that's all serving out of a central heating system out of your boiler house,
Yeah.
it's delivering heat, then you have when you buy that unit, you're gonna get a compressor anyways to a certain point, so then the air conditioning comes with it.
Thank you. There's nothing like teaching in a hot classroom at the end of May or early June, or if it's winter and the heat goes out and you have to wait another hour for school to be dismissed. It's pretty horrible, so I'm hoping that this solves that problem.
Well, and the other thing that you're battling right now is that school is either 100% on or 100% off. There's no in-between with that boiler system, so it's either running or it's not. And with this, you can run pieces of it. So you don't have to run the full building all the time. You
Also,
can-
could that save money?
Yes. Yes, this will
All
save
right,
this, the operation cost of this building will go down after this. With the lighting, with the new LED lights, with the new HVAC system, you will see a decrease in bills every year.
Thank you.
We would also like, Board President, if I may.
Yes, sir.
I think that the problem that we're experiencing right now, not understanding and knowing, I think it's important for you all to give us what our warranties are, what it looks like if something does go a certain way, something breaks down. I think it's important for the school district and the board to know what that looks like. So when you all come back to us, if we can prepare that type of information, or I can send it to the board and we can bring it to the public. I think that's important.
I'll get that for you.
Can I ask a question? Mr. Clark?
Trustee Rutherford?
This is to you all, Clark Company. I don't know, but are you all housed in the administration building of Flint Community Schools?
Yeah, we just moved over there.
That's
from-
where your office is?
Yes.
Is that normal practice? Because I'm used to seeing trailers where construction companies are doing work.
It's a cost, we're trying to save money on renting trailers.
You all are trying to save
No,
money?
we're trying to save you guys money by not renting
You gonna
trailers.
save us money by
Yes.
staying in the building?
Yes,
How?
because it's a direct reimbursable under our contract.
It's a who?
It's a reimbursable under our contract to rent a
It's
trailer.
reimbursable.
Yes.
I guess I'm not used to seeing contractors housed in the building.
I'm-
And that just seems really, really, that's concerning to me.
Well, I'm not your contractor, I'm your agent. So
That's in
I-
the contract?
Yes. I am your construction manager. I serve Flint Community Schools.
And
I
that's
don't-
in the contract?
Yes,
For you
ma'am.
to be housed in the building?
No, it's not
That's
my-
core business to me.
It's not in my contract, but we don't bake in funds for housing, because typically with school districts, when we do bond work, there's usually a spot where we can go that we can do our work, or in the building, like we
I'm
were
used
out.
to trailers being outside of construction sites. I've just never seen that unless it's in a contract. So if it's in your contract, that's what you do, then I have no problem with it. But if it's not in a contract, my concern, and I think this is to you, Mr. Henderson, I was in that room. Where did all that furniture go? And what's concerning is I was told, and I hope you can help me, it was thrown away.
We moved most of it to Northwest. We moved most of it to Northwest.
What does most of it look like?
There were some things that were broken, and those were tossed away.
I guess my question to you is, can you provide us with an inventory that's at Northwestern?
Yes, ma'am.
Everything that was in that room, it was over 100 chairs that were in very good condition. Everything I guess my concern is I was just in that room maybe 2 weeks ago, and it was a lot of very good furniture that we probably could have sold and made money, since we're dire for money. This whole situation with Clark being in the administration building and all that being cleaned out in less than a week, that's concerning to me. And it feels as though the district is being taken advantage of, and I have an issue with that. That's not normal practice, what I'm witnessing. I haven't been to the administration building, so this is purely hearsay. But I do plan on coming to the administration building. And I think, Clark, you should pay if you're in that building and get reimbursed.
Trustee King had something real quick.
Go ahead.
What part of that is hearsay?
I haven't been to the building to see it. I haven't seen the room with my eyes. I was just informed of that. That's why I'm saying it's hearsay. But I'll be there tomorrow.
I want to be clear. So someone informed you that they threw all of the,
Well, he just confirmed it, that some of it was going to Northwestern, so he confirmed that. Because the room is empty, because Clark is in there. They couldn't be in there with all the items that was in there when I was in the room.
There's still remaining furniture in the room. just so we understand each other. We kept some of it in there.
Trustee King?
Hey, Clark Construction, quick question for you. So can you explain to me your role? Can you explain to me your role?
We're hired by districts to manage their construction process. That's right. I don't hold the trade contracts. We talk about contractors. I'm not a contractor. I don't self-perform any work here. My only job is to manage this work, get it done on time, make sure that the contractors follow their contracts, that they do the work that they're paid to do, that they don't cheat, they don't skimp, they don't use the wrong materials. We manage all the paperwork in regards to the submittals, pulling the permits. We pull the building permit for you. All these things are enumerated in our contract that the district voted on.
So you don't have a hammer or hat going, knocking down walls?
Our job is to get this work done the most efficient way possible for the lowest price with the best quality.
Okay.
I mean, it's watered down as possible.
Yeah, I remember when we walked, Mr. President and I walked Door Rider, you explained some of that briefly. You know how you roll with Door Rider. Again, I appreciate Clark Construction managing that process with our construction companies there. I just want to make sure I understood your exact role, your partnership with the district. I'm gonna say you're part of the team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're part of the team to ensure our district is not cheated, making sure that we have a person that's geared towards that. Because, in my opinion, Superintendent Jones can't. He don't know nothing. Do you know nothing about? Do you know anything about construction?
I know how to nail I know how to do a little something. And I stand behind, Clark being there, and you guys have nothing to do with anything that was thrown out or anything. So I want to be clear.
Right.
They have nothing to do with
Right.
any of that or a decision that was made to put something in Northwestern. And being informed of it in the way that I'm hearing it is not the way that things
Proper,
should be.
not
Okay.
proper.
It's
So-
not proper.
It's
So
not.
I do have a concern with people being informed. I want to be clear. People being informed, and who's ever informing people of things in this manner is not the way we should be doing business, and we should be together. And if I would have known that someone had a problem, I've talked to another board member who did call me and do it the right way and ask questions, which was Dr. Joyce, and said, her concerns about certain things that was in that room. So that has nothing to do with you, and I want to make that clear on the record, that that's not your concern. I think what Trustee Rutherford, and I can't speak for her, was concerned about is that you all are on the property, and I think her thought, and hopefully she'll get back in soon, and I can say, you're not a construction company, you are not a general contractor, you were hired from the previous board to be our construction manager.
Yes.
Right.
And so you work on our behalf, and having you in the district is actually better than having you, where are you all located?
Lansing.
In Lansing. It's better to have you here, so I can come down like I did today and ask questions, and thank you for your support with that. And they also were involved in the staff meetings that we just had for the last couple of days with the move we're doing. So having you present is better than having you in Lansing.
Mr. President. Yeah, so just to keep going, just to make that note, I would rather have experts at the table than myself knowing how to use a Ryobi drill and drill a hole in the wall, right? So I appreciate you all being a part of the team, especially that close. You do it all the time in different school districts. You've said that, so appreciate that. Thank you for it.
Secretary Perkins.
I just want to say it's an easier reach to have you right on hand than you trying to jet all the way from Lansing. And as I understood it, well, I didn't like what just happened, but the way it was done. Like I said, you had nothing to do with that. That is an internal house problem. So.
Let me put it in perspective. I'm in 9 districts currently in some shape or form. I've only rented a trailer in 2 of them. And one of them I was doing full buildings. I was building full buildings for them. I have one trailer in Monroe, just because their high school is full. If they had room, I would not be spending $2,000. They would not be spending $2,000 a month to house us while we do the work. So it's a savings back to, it's a, you know,
It's a cost savings.
if it's 12 months, it's $24,000 that can go into a building. And that's really the lens we look at it as, is if you have space, I don't care where it is, it's space that we can sit in, do our work. I can house my managers so we can work with your staff to get them moved and to get going on this stuff. We're right here. That's the way, with the lens we look at it. We don't want to spend on money that doesn't be spent.
Okay, you have to answer this.
Oh,
No, you have to trustee next.
okay.
All right, so Vice President.
I thought she was next.
No, you were
Oh,
next, and
okay.
then you're next.
Okay. All right, thank you for coming. When we select Clark Construction, we did a thorough investigation, spoke with them personally. I was impressed with the work that they did at the library. And with any construction company, I have been project manager on many. Most of the time, the construction company take resident on that place, right on that property or in a building. My understanding that previous board, we understood that. That's where you see Johnson Control, that when we came in on new members, they had, because they was doing work, and they stationed over there at Northwestern. I don't see a problem with that. I understand that concept and why you're doing what you're doing. I don't feel like we've been taken from. One thing I know about your work is that you can get the job done. Your timing is perfect. We don't want any hiccups or to delay what we're trying to do, and I hope I can speak for my other board members as well. That office space need cleaning out, because when you guys gone, we just hope you kind of put a little love to it, because that's supposed to be one of the places for the board. I'm quite sure our executive administration is going to work with you, because we was trying to get that cleaned out for the last 2 or 3 years and get that place where the board will have their own space. So I'm just looking forward for the work that you guys going to leave us a beautiful executive place. And thank you very much for what you do, and hope we can get started.
Yeah, and thank you. I just wanted to reiterate, I think Dr. Joyce said
Thank
that
you.
very nicely. I was on the board when we decided to have you do the project management, and I've had conversations with you, and I've talked to you at the opening of Doyle Ryder, and I've expressed my admiration for your work. I don't think there's anything wrong or questionable about, occupying the space. I understand what that means about, about the cost-saving measures, and I get it. And we do have the extra space. It makes complete sense. It just seems like a natural fit. I have no issue with that. The thing that I think that as a board, and this is what I was saying in my last comment, that apart from your role as project managers and this work that you're doing, we as a board have work to do in terms of cleaning up some of the invoices, and there's some issues that even before the previous board before that left us with a little bit of a entanglement, let's just say. So I do have concerns about about Johnson Controls. Yes, thank you. I am so sorry. About Johnson Control. And I do have concern about the property at Northwestern. The fact that we closed down our service center, our food center, and relocated non-academic, non-student services to Northwestern, kept it open. I believe when I was treasurer, I was looking at invoices that said we paid over $200,000 a year in electric utilities alone just to keep the building open to run a food service, and that wasn't an allowable expense against our food budget. It came out of the general fund. I just kind of talked to the other Mr. Jones, maybe he could look at and kind of keep an eye on that, because that was one of the questions I had as treasurer. And the fact that I am so sorry, because Johnson Control used our the Flint Community Schools letterhead and represented themselves as being from Flint Community Schools in a lot of their communication. This was before your time, Mr. Jones, and I was, and Joyce and I looked at this. And they also had their branding up on Northwestern's building. So this isn't any reflection of you, but there might be some seepage of, you know, malfeasance or impropriety from some other past administrations and or boards. So please, my deepest apologies for any, you know, perceived insults or, you know, I really don't want there to be any hard feelings because I really appreciate the work you're doing. We, again, as a board, need to do our own work, our own research, and I welcome that, and let's please not take it out on the vendors and the third parties. Just trust the process that we're working together, and if not, then let's deal with it, right? Both can be true at the same time. One last thing I'd like to say, Mr. Henderson, there's, when Chartwell's came before us, the woman who was leading that program was very enthusiastic about you know, finding alternate uses for some of the abandoned equipment or some of the things like that. And I think there's a perception, because I've talked to like just a couple of, you know, folks in the community that they just want more of an attention to detail that is more like community focused or community sensitive. And I don't want, I'm not trying to insult you in any way, but maybe just giving you like a constructive criticism that I don't think you had any ill intentions about, you know, the disposal of property or making decisions. You've got a big job on your hand. You've got the district. It's a mess. Schools are burnt down. We have abandoned properties. I get it. We've got all sorts of stuff going on. And we're not here to micromanage you. We definitely are not. But from a community perspective, you know, that just might make your job a little bit easier. If there's just, you know, hey, I get it. You throw away a broken chair, right? But around here, a broken chair, maybe somebody wants it. Or it's just, it's our community. So just maybe, you know, does that make sense? I don't know if I'm expressing myself correctly, but yeah. All right, thank you so much.
Trustee Rutherford.
To Clark Construction, are we your only customer? Flint School, is Flint Schools your only customer?
No, we do about $250 million of the
That's my
K-12 year.
concern, because we're not your only customer, but we're housing you.
You're
Does that
only-
mean you be doing work for other people while you're in our building?
I do not. I only work for Flint Community Schools.
You only work for Flint Schools?
My team is here every day, working.
Are you the only,
boards.
I'm sorry, who's talking to me? You,
Sorry.
who?
We're both.
You.
I apologize.
Okay, go ahead. One
No,
at a
I-
time, go ahead.
I'm the project manager for Flint Community Schools.
Okay,
And my team, which Dave is our senior project manager, we only work on Flint Community Schools work.
you only work on
That's-
Flint Community
That's
Schools?
all we're working on.
So you don't have any other customers? Or did I
Myself?
misunderstand?
No.
something? Yourself?
The team that's in the admin building is only working on Flint Community Schools projects.
Okay. I still stand what I said about that. But Mr. Henderson, what time frame do you need so we can have that list of what's at Northwestern? And it's rough, but it's a part of your job to keep up with everything in the district. Or is that not a fair request of you?
It's a fair request. I'll give it to you next week.
It's very tedious, I agree with that. But I think it's necessary so that we can have a grip on what's actually in the district, because a brand-new chair that hasn't been touched in 10 years is still a brand-new chair. Maybe out of style, but still a brand-new chair. My concern is just a lot of wasteful spending. And when a person is not sure of something, people take advantage of them. Not saying Clark is doing that, but it could happen, and I just, not on my watch, I just pay attention. I'm not included in a lot of meetings, but I do pay attention. I do my research, contrary to what people may think, but I don't want this district to go away. And I asked the question, is it someone's desire to destroy Flint Community Schools?
Absolutely
So I don't care about a pretty building. What I care about is teachers and students and this community being able to feel like they are part of it. So I just really want that to be echoed again. That's my concern, is human beings and not a building. Thank you.
Moving on, Brownell, scope of work for Brownell, full building, roof replacement, replacement of exterior doors and windows, secured entry, renovation of the existing office, main office, full building, HVAC upgrades, fire protection, which it doesn't have any now, full building electrical upgrades, fire alarm, new PA, new lighting, new ceilings, and then paint in the classrooms and corridors. Moving on to Potter. Potter Elementary has, once again, full building, full roof replacement, replacement of exterior doors and windows, secured entry, relocation of the main office, full building, HVAC, fire protection, electrical, fire alarm, PA, lighting upgrades, ceilings, painting in the corridors and classrooms, and then renovation of the existing main office space. And lastly, this is the
Could you,
current plan, I'm sorry.
before we transition to that, could I make a comment? From Brownell, well, from Holmes to Brownell to Potter, you had mentioned, Clark had mentioned that these buildings really haven't been renovated to this extent since the inception of these buildings, right? And you would agree that codes, laws change about how certain things are supposed to be ran and efficiently and all that, right? Okay. As a person that walked Brownell and most all of these schools, I remember a leakage was coming from one of the ceilings in Brownell. Teacher was like, yeah, what am I supposed to do with this? I said, yeah, that's something else, right? I'm a person that believes in my working conditions must be up to par. You know, if I want to feel appreciated, if I want to feel a certain way in my working environment, it must be up to par as, let's say, another school district that has similar number of students but better facilities. This is some awesome work our board, has embarked upon. I'm excited for the PA system. I'm just put it out there because the PA systems are crazy and old in my mind. The new electrics, the HVAC systems, this is wonderful work our district is doing, and I think our board should be publicizing and literally spreading the good news of what some major transitions, major renovation that we do to our buildings. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Vice President McNeil.
Hi, I want to just go back to Holmes and Brownell. In the past, it was my understanding that Brownell and Holmes share the same grid. And sometime, I was just thinking that when we were talking about HVAC, remember that Brownell, and I don't know if it still happened, but when I was over there teaching, and they seem to lose power a lot. Do you remember that? Or the internet is not connecting properly. So during this renovation, Mr. Jones, is something going to be done? Even to you?
Yes, so currently the plan at Brownell is, because it's fed from Holmes, we're going to separate it, so Brownell will have its own feed from consumers.
Oh, okay.
And then Holmes will have its own feed, so it will be separated.
Okay,
And you should get
that was
more
important to me. Okay.
regular.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So one piece I didn't mention, so this is the end of schematic design, so we're currently planning this Friday to review our estimates to make sure we're still on track and still within budget as we move forward into design development. So we're having a meeting Friday with our internal team to review that and see where everything stands. So that update will be coming soon. So moving on, so this is a transition from Holmes to South,
For this, I'm just going to ask some of the team members that are here, and we don't want to hold you all night, but the principals and assistant principal and our executive director of academics, if you all can come over and share with this conversation as it pertains to the transition. Thank you. Yep. I think everybody know everybody, right? Well, I'll do it anyway. This Assistant Principal Danetta Moore, Principal Akaniki from Southwestern, Principal Scott Henwood from Holmes, and all of you know Ms. Kelly Fields, our Director of Academics. You all may have to like share the microphone. Okay. So I know, Clark, you're going to talk about just the pieces that you all are in, but I wanted to have more of a robust conversation.
absolutely. So we approached Mr. Jones about an opportunity because of the scope of work that we had to do in the time frame of some options, and this came to, you know, our best ability to get this work done in the time and be able to spend the ESSER's money before the end of September 2024. So we put together a plan. This is our part of the work. We are issuing a packing and moving RFP on Thursday. That will entail packing up the rooms, moving furniture. Right. Packing, moving, unpacking of the rooms from Holmes into Southwest. It'll also be assisting with any transition of furniture within Southwest to the new designated classrooms here. So we're putting together a plan, working with the principals to have it streamlined so that when the movers get here, they have this teacher, it's this classroom, and this is where it's going. And you know, we can do this in a quick manner. So currently, the plan, we're issuing an RFP tomorrow. We'll walk through with the movers on Friday. Staff can begin, and I actually understand they've actually already started, but between the 17th and the 20th, start packing. If they would choose to pack their own stuff, they can pack it all up. We're providing labels so there's no confusion of where it goes. It'll be clearly identified. During that time frame, the 17th to 20th, staff will be able to do that. We will be receiving RFPs on the 18th, reviewing it with Mr. Henderson and selecting a successful contractor. And then the move will start the week of July 24th, and that's when they'll be in district packing, moving, unpacking of all the equipment. We have a little bit of side work within Southwest to separate the middle school, 7th, 8th grade students from the high school students. So there's some temp walls that we're constructing. There's some power that we have to provide, some cameras that we're accommodating so that there's a separation between the middle school and the high school students. And that's...
Did you say cameras?
Security cameras, yes.
Oh.
We're good. Your security meetings on when we walked it made mention of a couple security cameras that may be needed to be added because of the distances. So we're getting a quote and then we'll go over it with the district. Okay. I think it's 3 to 4 in the east wing.
And that's just going in the 7th and 8th grade wing?
Yes. He had a couple blind spots where he wanted to be able to see the middle of the corridor versus trying to go all the way from the end. So.
Quick question. Are you guys building new doors?
What's that?
Are you guys building separate doors so that the kids can enter the building in separate doors?
Yes.
So I guess, how do you separate when they ride the bus? How do you stop?
We are building temp walls in 3 locations with egress doors. So on one side, it will be a panic going out because of classrooms and the travel distance for egress.
He's
And on the other side, it will be a keyed
Okay.
entry so that
I want
students
to hear that too.
on that side can't get in there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in 3 locations that we're building these temp walls with a egress door.
I guess my question is, when they're coming into school, how are they entering the building?
Oh,
I know that's not for you.
Your question was, how are they entering the building?
My question is, how are they going to enter and exit the building without interacting with upperclassmen?
Sure. So the high school students enter down here on the west side of the building in the morning, and we have a door on the east wing where the middle school will be housed, which is going to be set up separate for them to enter. So, of course, we've got the walls, which have been discussed by the fine gentleman from Clark, but additionally, we know that there's going to be some shared spaces because we have to utilize the gym for some students. We have to utilize the cafeteria. So we've been working, myself and Ms. Moore and Mr. Henwood, we've been working on developing a schedule so that they don't cross paths if we have to utilize a shared space. So when our students are in the classroom is the time for them to come from that east wing down to the cafeteria for their lunches, and then they return before our students transition to a class.
How long you been working on that?
Well, I began the process of working on this Friday the 23rd of June, which was the day after Mr. Jones first alerted the team.
So all
that-
this just came up within the last month?
Yes, that's correct, but we've been working diligently since Superintendent Jones brought it to our attention.
Of course you're gonna work diligently. Okay, go ahead.
So also, I want to be clear about where, so the buses.
Yes.
I think you mentioned buses, right? Buses, they're riding separate buses.
Yes,
correct?
that's correct. Yep.
Okay, so 7th and 8th graders that are coming here will be dropped off where?
So
In high school, explain that, please.
So the 7th and 8th graders will be dropped off. The parking lot, which is the teacher's parking lot, is where those buses will venture to drop the students off. And then they'll be dropped off at the easternmost door of the building, so at the completely opposite side of the building for where the high school kids come in.
So that, just to be clear, that's not the door that's right there in the foyer back there. It's the door, the farthest door on the back end
Yes,
of
that's
the building.
correct. Yep. So the staff entrance, because of the way that the temporary doors are being set up with the keys, both staffs will be able to utilize the same parking lot and utilize the same entrance, but the students will come in from, completely opposite, polar opposite sides of the building.
I guess my question is, with the problem we're having with transportation, how is this even remotely possible? And what time does school start for upper L and lower L, if they're going to be separate on different buses?
Well, I'm not entirely sure if I'm prepared to answer that.
Well, you gotta answer it. I need an answer.
We have, for Holmes Middle School, we currently have 10 buses for our scholars. Therefore, those same 10 buses that we have will be rerouted from Holmes to Southwestern.
That don't have come.
I can't hear you.
They don't have come. I guess my question is, with the busing transportation issue that we are currently experiencing, how has that been eliminated to where these kids can get to school every day, now at a whole different location?
I'll speak to that. So I think that, there's issues that we're going to have regardless of any moves that we're making, that will be our normal issues that we need to resolve. However, this is more about making sure those scholars from homes have proper entrances that will keep them distant from our scholars at Southwestern Academy. However, we still, with bus driver shortages across United States and still here, we still have to deal with those things. So say, for instance, a bus driver calls off like that they have, the bus company will still do what they would normally do and try to reroute that or get someone there in another time frame. The team is not really working on that. They're working on the the work we're doing around making sure the everyday operations of children and management of children is happening. So I do understand where you're coming from.
I think what I'm asking is, I would be okay if they started at a different time. Then I could see the buses being able to do what you all are saying that they could do. If the upper L started earlier, then I wouldn't have an issue with them interacting, coming in the building, because they're coming in the building, and the 7th and 8th graders aren't even on the campus. And when they exit, the 7th and 8th graders are already in the building. My concern is just the influence. You have very immature 7th and 8th graders that are already dealing with edibles. I have a grandson that's that age, so I'm talking life. I'm not talking assumption. To put him as an 8th grader in a high school with his immaturity, but his zest to learn from older people, that's setting him up for disaster, you all. And I guess I was coming to hear a concrete plan to where some of my anxiety would be eased. But just to see that this just started June 23rd of 2023 and school is going to start August 9th, where's the transition? Where's the preparation? Where's the thoughtfulness? It's like our kids are just being thrown to the dogs. Figure it out. It looks good for us. It's not about looking good for you. It's about us getting these kids. One of my colleagues used the term pipeline to prison. Where you think you go send them with this type of crap? You just throwing them at the dogs. I will not have my grandson coming to high school in the 8th grade. He's not prepared mentally, socially, at all. And just to say there will be interaction, you're right, because of lunch, because kids are going to wonder and interact. That's not fair and that's not right, and that's not good right now. But I'm one person, but I'm a voice, what I believe is best for this district.
Okay, I got a couple board members that would like to ask some questions. Vice President McNeil.
Hi, I want to thank each and every one of you that's sitting in those seats. And we can begin with, we have some challenges. We don't have a holding school because they closed all our big schools. But what I admire with this board is we are the what. You guys are the how. Mr. Jones is the how. You guys gonna tell us how it works? No. You guys would tell us how it works? Once your plan is done, the board would do a walkthrough, because right now we're still in preliminary spaces and places. If we can move door rider in the middle of an emergency to keep them from getting sick with mold, and did an outstanding job, packing, moving, checking on them, making sure they're okay at Potter, getting them back. I trust the administration that's sitting before this board and the superintendent that we have selected to make this a great transition. This is something that we have to do. We don't have a holding school. The state put the mandate, you cannot put elementary kids and middle schools. 6th graders are going to door rider. You guys seem to have, and I know these two ladies that I'm sitting here, they can do it. They know what they're doing. They know their students. You gentlemen, your principal, we have worked with you. I've been in this district for over 20 years. We trust you and the superintendent to make this happen. Are we gonna have hiccup? Yes. But I'd rather do this than give $80-some million back. We don't have a plan B for these students to go, and I think we done the right thing. I have no intention as a board member, and I have listened to parents on both sides. Their biggest concern that I hear was the 6th grade, and they was excited going to door rider. They think you're all excited now. Wait till Clark Construction finish Holmes and Brownell, and General Motors is dumping another $1,000,000-something for beautification around there. We are on the road to making progress. And when you guys are done, Mr. Jones will let the board know. I want to do a walk-in. I'm going to be there when you pick them up. I'm going to be there when they get dropped off. And we can see how that process. But I would like to see it in its entirety when I'm not going to badger you and how this is going to happen, because I know I have seen Ms. Spear turn ALA around
Thank you. I have seen the work you do. I know what Ms. Moore can do. I had seen Mr. Kenwood. I've seen you guys. We're trusting you, and the parents are trusting you. Our children are not that immature. They can be very mature on a good day. And then they can be very immature on a bad day. But I think you're doing a great job in putting this together for what we have to work with so that Clark Construction can move forward and we can get this work done. If anything come up, we know the process. But this is part of Mr. Jones' evaluation. This is where the how come in. I need somebody to evaluate him on. So this is how we evaluate our superintendent. We give him that freedom to make that choice. He's the how, we are the what. The board needs to understand what it is that we're trying to do. We told him what it is that we want. He's to go through that strategic plan and make it happen. Thank you.
So I just got to say something real quick. I think it's important that Mr. Jones made an important point earlier, and it's that these kids that are coming from homes are going temporarily to a brand new refurbished school, and then when they're going to be coming back, returning to a brand new refurbished school. So I think that's an important fact that needs to be put out there. So that's all I wanted to say, Mr. McIntyre.
Sure.
And I also I just wanted to say, is this on? But, yeah,
I'm sorry.
that this is not new. This is not new. And that Superintendent Jones, I just want to take you back to the beginning of March 2022, when we had charts on the wall, we had district plans, we had attendance maps. This is something that you were actively working on. You were working very, very hard, and you haven't stopped. So this isn't something that you just pulled out of a hat and decided last week, let's go and do this. So this has been in the motion for well over a year. And I commend you for that, and I don't want that work to go unrecognized. So I still have the maps. I insisted on taking them home, so I've got them, and because they're kind of cool. They're actually really nice. So I reiterate what Dr. Joyce is saying. I have the utmost confidence in all of you. I've seen all of you at work in your natural habitat, so to speak, and you are exceptional, and we are so lucky to have you. And we're not here to micromanage you, to tell you how to do your job, because you're the best. You're the best, right? And like I said, we've already started this work. It's been put in motion. We were talking well back in 2022 about sunset dollars and working and moving forward. It's coming down to crunch time. Yes. So I have confidence. I've been so excited by the work that this team has been doing. I mean, I know that there are drawbacks and setbacks, but I'm confident that we can overcome them and move forward. And in terms of school to prison pipeline, I know your hearts. I know that restorative justice drive that's in all of you, right? And I know you're not about to reinforce the pipeline, right? We're doing everything that we can, and so thank you.
Ms. Fields, did you want to respond?
If I could, I want to make sure that, Trustee Relaford, I hear you. And I want to make sure if there's even one voice in this room that feels dissent or doesn't feel heard, I want to make sure that you understand that I hear you. And that part of the first things that we did was we evaluated whether a Tier 1, Tier 2 approach to this transition would be the best one to take forward. And quite frankly, I've successfully done this with 2 other buildings before. With Northwestern and ALA, we had to forge, and I was the administrator over both of those buildings at one time. And one of the ways that we were successful in doing so is because we kept them at the same time, and we had 7th graders in our ALA program at that time, 7th and 8th graders. In addition to that, in consideration to bringing over our young people to Southwestern, there's opportunities here that might be able to cover some staffing shortages if we're evaluating and making sure that we have certified teachers in front of kids as well. In addition to that, when you talk about separation, there are going to be opportunities where the scholars are going to have to pass each other back and forth, but there was great intention put around not just walkthroughs through the building, but conversations that have taken place several times throughout the past couple of weeks. Particularly this past week has been nonstop of making sure that we're intentionally thinking about everything, that to not just keep your grandson safe, but to keep all scholars safe in this building. And I give you my promise that that's the concern for me, is to make sure that we can have a building where scholars feel valued, and where not just the rest of the board consideration of thought is taken into place, but your considerations as well, and to make sure that we're addressing those things appropriately. So my first recommendation was to look at and evaluate a Tier 1, Tier 2 system, and after hashing through all of the issues and barriers that could have been there, it was determined that to keep them on one schedule was the best opportunity. Not just for the purpose of safety, but for the purpose of the allocation of services, for the best way to go ahead and be the most intentional about how we were to service students. And I give you my promise that that's going to continue to move forward in a way where I am hoping that it not just satisfies the rest of this board, but satisfies you, because I know that that is your concern as well. So I thank you for bringing those issues up and making sure that we were aware of what the things are that you stood in need of.
I thank you for that, but for me, just, can I respond to her? I'm sorry. I thank you for that, and I'm just not one to, I don't care. I'm just one, I'm going to be honest, and I'm just saying to you, I know your work, you know, I do, but to me, this is just out of the scope, Mr. Hayward. I'm just.
Treasurer Luna? Oh,
Thank you, sorry. You can go ahead, Mr. Hamlin.
Mr. Hayden.
Thank you very much. And I just wanted to say the same thing. I understand your concerns. I mean, anytime there's major changes that are happening, I've been there with my family, myself, when we've moved from one place to the other. I mean, I had one time when I was moving to my first assistant principal job in Indiana, and we were in between. And literally, I had my family in a hotel room with a dog and my little son. He was just real young then. And we were in between one house selling and one house buying. So, you know, I know anytime you have changes like this, it's very challenging. But one of the things that I was able to do right before this meeting started is right across the hall, I heard basketball. And so I had to go over there and see the kids. And those young people sitting there playing the game that I love, and it just reminded me of why I do what I do. And I think, you know, what's great about this that's happening here in Flint for a district that has, you know, been seeing for a long time enrollment decline, this is a potential pivoting point for the district. One that in the long run is not only going to benefit young people like that are out there playing basketball now, but potentially, you know, and I was saying this to Mr. Jones before the meeting today, I've always found in life that when you have the new shiny toy, it attracts people. And this could be something that really helps bring back people to the district and seeing the direction that you're taking this district in, and I think that's very exciting. And yes, this is a challenge. I mean, this is not perfect. This isn't what anybody wants to do, but you know, this is what's good for young people and the families of Flint. And then the other thing I wanted to just answer for you, I've had the opportunity to work in 3 buildings in the past that had middle school and high school together, and I've actually seen some really positive things happen from the intermixing of middle school and high school. And there's some things that we could do that could help those young people to transition even better into high school than we do right now. For example, and this is just a thought, is we could have high school students mentoring our young middle school kids to help them throughout the year, and continue to help them with, you know, hey, you know, I understand, you know, with, you mentioned immaturity. And, that's where their maturity, where I'm thinking about seniors and juniors, that they could help those young people start to figure that out and tell them about the things that could help them to be successful. And like I've said, I've had the opportunity to see that firsthand in 3 buildings that had a middle school with a high school, and it worked very well. So I just wanted to let you know that, because I know that was a concern that you brought up. And again, I just think this is a great opportunity for Flint, and I'm really excited for the families and for the students, not only now but in the future, that are going to benefit from the things that you are doing. Thank you very much.
President.
Okay. Director Luna?
Yeah, I was good. You said it all, what I wanted to say. So, number one, we're all one team, just different roles, and I'm happy to see us embrace that more and more, hopefully in the future and more. But I wasn't asked that. I mean, I know keeping the students safe is the #1 priority, because if they're not safe, they can't learn. But to your point, what are the opportunities to, help them while they're here, and then once they finish and they go back to their own building? You mentioned mentoring. I'm not sure if you can even do some stuff with sports, but I'm looking forward to this once things are kind of kinked out and you guys work out all the different, minor issues. I think it's a very exciting thing. So thank you for coming here tonight and being here to explain to us, because we come here twice a month, and that's it. You guys have the certifications. You're there every day in these hot buildings, hot right now. You guys are here, so I really do appreciate each and every one of you, and you folks at Clark too. I think you guys being on site makes it a whole lot easier to answer our questions. It's nothing like calling a vendor and they're 2 hours away and they can't get there, but you're right here, and I appreciate your commitment. And thank you too, Mr. Anderson.
Okay. Trustee King?
Hey, quick question. How many safety advocates will we have in Southwestern?
13.
13 altogether. And it's divided up from middle school to high school?
Yes.
Okay. How many police department officers will we have inside? 3 altogether. Got you. First, I want to say thank you to the team that really do the work. The board, we make decisions, but it's the team that does the work actually day to day. Could be a tough job at times when you're doing some things and you may not agree with it, but you actually do the work that's there. Hearing that, June, once you got the information, you started working, that's the mind of educator. That's the mind of administrator. That's your role. And I appreciate that. I don't think you all hear that enough, is we appreciate the tenacity, the experience that you all bring, because I may be a substitute teacher, but you all deal with children every day. This is your day job. Y'all are the experts. I would rather hear from an expert than myself in most cases. Also, when it goes to mentorship, I would like to add, as a former student council person, it would be nice to see them two cooperate together in some other space in the mentorship. And, that's what I like to see, leadership, that show people leadership, and especially as the 7th and 8th graders are here, they will be able to see their potential high school they'll be going to. Hopefully, we can get a new one going. I'm just put that out there. But it just be nice to see that kind of coalition that we could build. Mr. Jones, and Clark Construction, thank you. We have $80 million to move, and we're doing it the best we can the way we know how. I know probably when you got the call, you said, "Oh wow," I would have said the same thing, right? But I thank you. Again, you don't hear that enough. Thank you. Especially you probably spent your mind boggling over summer vacation, like what are we going to do? What are we going to do? The calls from teachers, staff, thank you. That needs to be said more thank you.
Can you all speak a little bit about what we've done with staff and where we're going from here?
That's actually, sir, what I was just getting ready to speak to, because it would be remiss in not saying that there are a lot of working parts to this. And over the past week, we have had, I think, almost 100% of their staffs, if not 90% of their staffs, that have shown on their breaks without being paid or reimbursed for them to attend these particular meetings, to come and to participate in engaging conversation around these moves and provide their own feedback, and their being part of the invested process of making sure this gets done. In addition to that, there's other parts of it where are not actually affecting other principals directly, but they also have shared their wisdom, their knowledge, their heart, their commitment on their vacation, their rest time, to ensure that this is something that goes for this district. And I have to say, I've not heard one complaint from one staff member, for one teacher, in regards to this move. This move has been welcomed with open arms, in understanding that the potential that this could bring our district, and then just the gift of giving our students a beautiful place to be able to learn. The opportunity for our young people to walk into facilities that we have to suffer a little bit of discomfort, but everyone wholeheartedly agrees that our young people deserve the very best that we have to offer to them. And as a result of that, people have pitched in their hard work, their hard time, their rest time, in order to make sure this has happened. And I would be remiss in not recognizing our whole principal staff, because in some way, shape, or form, they have been on calls, they have been in conversations, they've been present, and then our staffs in all of these buildings have been just, it was a beautiful thing to see, and to see them show up and to be there, welcoming the school that's coming, being there to see how they can support. So the effort of collaboration has just been one that I've been deeply impressed by, and deeply grateful for, to understand the heart of what we have in this Flint Community Schools.
We can carry on. We done? We can carry on with the presentation.
Michael, I got a question. Was that a Zoom call? That was a Zoom call, correct?
In some instances, yes, but in other instances that there have been in-person things. But with the staff, we asked them to come for Zoom, and they overwhelmingly were present, engaged, answering questions, responding to Google Forms, making sure that their voices were heard.
According to what I got from your call, the question was, why didn't you all move the students from ALA to Southwestern so that these students at home could remain together at ALA? And also, there were some concerns about that. So I do have to admit that some of the teachers did have some concerns about this, which they voiced that. So I just want to make sure everyone knows that the whole district is not for this. And I just want us to be honest with everything. No one will ever be 100% with anything. But the bottom line is, I don't want to have to say, I told you so. Because if we lose one child, I know people always talk about, well, we did it before. That was an application process. Not every general student was able to come to Southwestern, or back then the Flint Academy. You had to go through a vetting process. And if you didn't make it through the application process, you couldn't attend that school. So my concern now is we don't have a vetting process. It's generally everyone can come. So when you made the statement about ALA with a seventh grader, with a seventh grader being an ALA, their mentality is completely on a different level. But it's something to being immature. That's a part of growth. When you are 7 years old, you should be able to act like a 7-year-old. But what does that look like today? 7-year-olds cook dinner and look after, pay bills, prepare bed, clean up homes. When are we going to write that and allow a 7th grader to be a 7th grader, where you get to learn your body, because your body is going through changes, especially with young boys. Your voices are changing. Your desires are changing, but you can't even adjust to that, because you go from playing with toys to playing with females, or however it goes. I guess that's just my concern. Being immature is a part of growth, and I don't want the students to miss the opportunity to grow at their pace.
Okay, I have a question, and this is I'm just curious. This is for anyone, Mr. Jones, anybody. Where will Mr. Henwood and Ms. Moore's office be? Your office, where will y'all's office be physically in the building?
26A.
Is that the furthest classroom?
It's when you come in. Yes,
Right,
sir.
that's what I thought. Okay. So it's is that by the library? That's what I thought. Okay, right. Okay.
Oh, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Could I
Trustee
also
King.
add, August 9th is when school will start, right?
I'm not mistaken.
Right,
August
okay.
9th.
I'll be here to watch. So I just be here to see, see how the transition rolls. I just be here. Just want you all to know I'll be here that day. Just for support and, seeing it all through. Thank you.
Me too. The presentation's done.
So I would like to just address the public and say that any of these moves that we're making, we know that sometimes as a district, we don't make the most popular move. There's emotion. There was emotion behind when they came to me with this. I probably have gotten on Mr. Henderson's nerve over the last couple of weeks because I have to, as a superintendent and now some of our principals and executive staff, we have to not only think about the issue at hand, but we have to think about how folks are affected by it. And that is the hard work that we have to do, making hard decisions. And we do want Flint Community Schools and any of our scholars and parents that hear this message, we are thinking, we are going to be present, we are going to be here, but I want you to think about what Flint can be in 5 to 10 years after we have renovated and made change. And I would say to the board, thank you for the changes that you have brought to my attention as a first-time superintendent that has made this district better. And we're going to continue to strive to do that. We're not going to always, principals, you know this, you're not going to always make the popular decision. Staff is not going to always like everything that we decide, but there's other pieces that you have to think about, walking pieces. Not everyone on my team agree with every step of this, but we have to think about more than what just bothers us. We have to think about all moving pieces. And I say to every board member, I hear you, we are listening, and we're trying to ensure preventative measures are in place in all of those spaces. So I just wanted to say that we do care, but this is a part of the theme, re-energizing the pride, renovating the plans, and rebuilding the future. And we are doing our best to make that happen, and we are listening. So I want to thank Clark, but I also want to thank this team that came. And, now I want to say this, I was called by some of these team members to say, sure, I plan to be, what do you want me to do tonight? So I want to say that I can't take credit for them being here. They wanted to be here to speak to the board and the community and to speak about what we're doing. I can't take credit for the presentation that Clark decided to put together, but I just want to thank everyone, Mr. Henderson, CSM, and all of the staff that's working hard to make this possible and make this happen. In a year from now, we're going to look up and see 2 schools that we're cutting ribbons on. I want to say that. In a year from now,
Yes.
we're going to look up at 2 schools, and we're going to keep going. But these ESSER funds have to be spent,
Yep.
and I do not want to look at this board if I'm sending back billions of dollars.
No, that ain't happening, Captain. It's not happening.
So, thank you very much. Thank you, team.
Thank you,
And
team.
some of you can leave after this.
I got
Kelly, you
one more
gotta stay.
comment I need to say to you all. I have several classmates that attended 7th through 12th grade, and 10 of them were raped because the upperclassmen raped them, and they living with that. That's why I'm so passionate about it. So understand this is personal to me, and they are 50 years old living with those scars. I had the conversation, and just to see the tears and the hurt, and they just felt as though their innocence was taken away from them because he was their brother's friend. He was a senior, so they thought it was okay that he talked to them. But it ended up being something totally different. I'm not talking something I read. I'm talking about what I lived. So when this stuff like this happen, it's a different set of rules, and it's a different set of responsibility. Thank you.
I want to thank you for your transparency and your vulnerability in front of this board. it takes a lot of courage to go ahead and talk about those kind of things, and also to be able to share where the triggers come from.
It wasn't me, I couldn't get in that
No,
school.
no, I understand that, but
Okay.
still, it's a vulnerability that you just shared in front of everybody, and I mean, it just takes great courage to go ahead and share where your heart comes from. And just to speak to a quick point, there was a conversation, I think, that was had about ALA and that transfer. The capacity for Holmes doesn't fit into ALA. There's not enough room for the students, the number of students that are there. So that is one of the reasons that wasn't under consideration. So thank you again for your honesty, your transparency, and your heart being wide open and then sharing that with us, because I appreciate that.
No problem.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, team, thank you, Clark. Now we will proceed with the agenda. I would like to ask our interim CFO, Mr. Brian Jones, to please come forward with the audit update.
It's the man of the hour. Come on.
Have a good night. Bye, guys.
How you doing, Mr. Jones?
Doing great.
All right. You want him to go ahead?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm
Proceed.
sorry. Proceed, Mr. Jones. I was making sure everything was okay out here. Go ahead.
Want me to go?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so for an audit update, our auditors were here. They came in on Monday for 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and for their initial preliminary work. It's not a preliminary audit, but their preliminary work. They're due back on September 11th for the full-blown audit. That will occur from September 11th to September 22nd. The purpose of this audit preliminary work, there are basically about 7 items that the auditors cover. One is they develop a game plan for how they're going to go after the full-blown audit based on what they see. They
What
evaluate
plan? I'm sorry, what plan?
game plan.
A game plan.
Their game plan,
Okay.
yes. They also evaluate our internal controls. They want to get a feel for who's doing what and what type of preliminary financial data that we have available or will have available, where we are with our financials, our financial information, and also where we are with the comments from the management comments from last year's audit, where they listed 7 deficiencies. And of those 7 deficiencies, let me say first off that that when they evaluate internal control, that the purpose of their evaluation is to determine how well they can rely on the financial records. It's not an evaluation of overall internal controls. For example, they don't look at the efficiency of the district and whatnot in the business office. What they're looking at is how do these internal controls impact the financial information that they're going to be auditing. And so that evaluation is based on, for their purpose of expressing an opinion on the financial statements, as opposed to evaluating the effectiveness of the district's internal control procedures overall. Now, in these deficiencies, there are 2 types of deficiencies. There's what's called a material weakness, and then there's what's called a significant deficiency. The material weakness class of deficiencies is more severe than the significant deficiencies. Those are less severe. Of the 7 that you received last year, 1 of those was a material weakness. And that one was for financial statement preparation and controls. Now, I spoke at length with Cindy, who's the lead auditor on the engagement, and she assured me and asked me to assure you that that particular material weakness is more like a disclaimer from them. It is not something that that rises to the level that it would be problematic. What that means is if the auditors have to post transactions to our financial statements, that means our financial statements required their assistance to be finalized. And anytime auditors come out, I've never seen an audit where they weren't adjusting entries that they made. I use the example of if you have an attorney and you send them a draft contract, they're going to make some changes to that contract regardless of how thorough the wording is on there. They've got to make some changes. The auditors also, when they go through an audit, they have to find something. And they're not making things up, but they have to find something, and there are transactions that they record. And so as long as that condition exists, I think every district has that, then that is the material weakness that they reported in the management comments. And again, they told me to stress to each of you, and also she offered to speak to any of you that was interested, but that is more a disclaimer, and it's going to be in every management comment letter going forward, because there are always going to be audit adjustments.
Mr. Jones,
Yes,
in your experience, have you ever seen a perfect audit?
I've never seen a perfect audit, no. Is that your question?
No, the question is, have you ever seen a perfect audit?
Well, no, I've seen an audit where we did not have any findings, but we did have this material weakness. There's a difference between a material weakness and findings also. But I've never seen an audit where there was no audit adjustments.
Okay.
Okay?
I
I don't think there's such an animal. I don't know of anyone who's seen that either.
We were told that our grant audit was perfect. Our grants was perfect. She's never seen anything as perfect like that. Nothing was wrong.
Well, I mean, what she means is that, things were recorded timely and accurately. They may not have had to make any adjustments for that particular grant.
No, she said the whole thing, everything was perfect. I'm just saying,
okay.
I know it's impossible because auditor comes to find something wrong. They're going to find something, period. Thank you. That's all I wanted to make sure.
Okay.
That this board heard.
Okay. So of the remaining 6 deficiencies, and I'll run through those very quickly, 4 of them have been corrected. 1 is still suspect, and then 1 the jury's still out on. I'll go through those one by one. The first one was a finding on the payroll personnel files. And that one, there's a whole paragraph that describes that. You probably have that letter from the prior audit. They say that's corrected, and that if we've made good progress on that, that is no longer an issue. The second one is student activity funds. This one could be an issue. They are going to need to look at the big picture of this. One of the weaknesses that they've identified is that we don't seem to have what they call recap sheets for fundraisers. And when we have a fundraiser, a recap sheet, for example, would show, let's say there's a bake sale. This sheet should show what was the cost of the materials that were purchased, essentially what's the cost of the inventory, what were the items sold for, what is the profit, who sold it, who collected the money. That is what we are lacking and need to get stronger on. So that's the one that's the issue, student activity funds.
Is that a grant or is that from general fund?
That's a student activity fund.
So that's a grant.
Right.
Okay.
No, it's not a grant.
What is it?
Okay, student activity funds are the funds that the district holds for student clubs and so forth.
I get that.
Recall that when I presented the budget to the board, I provided a document that I don't think you've seen before that listed what the balances were at each individual school in the student activity account.
No, I didn't see that.
So those funds, those are fiduciary funds. The district holds those for the benefit of the students. It's not grants, it's not general fund, it's technically not the school district's money. You could argue that. It's for the students. They raise that money, and it should be spent for the purpose of that fundraising.
Oh, okay,
Okay?
okay.
Okay, so that one is still an
One second.
issue
Excuse me.
possible.
Excuse me, Mr. Jones.
Yes.
The document that you're referring to that you just stated that we haven't seen, do you have that document that we can see? That has the what was it,
Mr. President, could you speak into the mic?
I didn't bring it with me now, but it was a part of the total budget that the board adopted at the budget hearing, at the meeting after the budget hearing. It's one of those documents in
okay,
there.
okay, all right.
Okay?
That's what I thought. Okay. You have a question?
No, I just said, could you speak into the mic?
I'm sorry.
I can't hear you.
Okay, Trustee Trustee McIntyre.
Yeah, I mean, the student fund, I believe, is very, very low. I mean, what you talked about it being a significant deficiency.
Yes.
Is it like around $800, or it's like real low, but the problem is structurally that we don't have a checks and balances for it. And so we need to do that so that everything looks above board, but that balance, right, Treasurer Luna, I believe it's like less than $1,000.
It's less than $1,000,
Yeah.
but I'd say, if I could, Mr. President, I'd say if we were a district of 50,000 students, that would be a big issue. So I think, given our small size, we have to address it still.
Right, absolutely. So structurally, it's just something we should do because it's like you said that, you know, we need to make sure that we're doing everything above board and following the rules. So I appreciate you helping
Okay.
us remedy that.
Yeah, yes, but let me just be clear here that the total balance for all the student activities account is much larger than $1,000.
Yes.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's well over 100,000 as I recall.
Right, but like right now, I'm just saying that we do have a balance sheet for it. We have seen a few of them. Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
there are procedures and all that we will be prepared to implement to make sure that we handle this.
Mr.
You know-
Jones,
Yes.
can I say something, please, sir? If it's all right with you?
Sure.
All right. One of the things that we we had spoke to our previous CFO about is working with the principals. The problem we're having is by the time that they have an event, they have their event, but the district doesn't receive the funds right after the event. And so we're trying to work with the principals now to say, as soon as you have an event, that next week, within that next week, we should be receiving any funds you have. Because of course they can have a game on a Tuesday and they may have a game on a Friday. But we have to receive those funds within a week, and we've discussed this with principals, but we need to have more robust conversation to ensure that those funds are lining up and the time frames are right. And that's where the problem has been, is receiving those funds for us to be able to put them into the account in a timely manner from the time of the event. So I just want to put
Yes.
that out there.
Okay, glad you did. That's a key point as well. Okay, one of the another, and that one, by the way, is a significant deficiency, so that's less severe. In fact, all 6 of these are of the less severe variety. The next one was software functionality. They said that one also has been corrected, and we want to give credit to the Genesee ISD and their staff for helping us navigate through that financial system. The next one was board minutes, and also they say that's been corrected. There are no issues with that. They received all the board minutes timely, so that's cleared. Okay. Finally, there was, oh no, there's one more. There's a non-union employee payouts. These are the severance pay, if you will, when folks leave. They looked at those and say those were all corrected. They did find a few little odds and ends, but none of them rose to the level that are even worth reporting on here. They just said, just consider that corrected. It's all in line. And then the final one was transparency reporting. These are the documents that we would place on our transparency report on the district's website. That's one that will be officially tested during the full audit. So that's one of the two that they didn't get to. The two that, but not that they didn't get to, but that one has not been fully tested. And then the student activity funds also is the other one that when they do the complete audit, they would dig into that deeper. They did bring another item that was not listed last time, but they're finding some things this time. And they said there are two issues they found. One is that, and they both have to do with employee expense reimbursements. One is that if federal funds are used to reimburse staff for food, then we need the full receipt. We have some where they receive partial receipts, and the partial receipts matched up to the money. They look legitimate, but it's technically not a full receipt. And if the feds come in and do an audit, they would say that cost is not allowable. That one is the smaller of the two. The second one also speaks to employee reimbursements, and there are two types that they classify as non-accountable and then accountable. And what they mean by that, a non-accountable reimbursement would be like, for example, a per diem. So if we gave someone a per diem and then they came back and did not submit receipts, then according to the audit, and also they're referencing the IRS, that should be counted as income to that employee. But if they have all the receipts, then it can be counted, it will not be counted as income, and we can reimburse the employees without there being any tax consequences to them. So those are the type things we're looking at. That she mentioned also that what some districts do, they may have a combination of the two, where because we recognize that sometimes people need a per diem before they go, but they've got to bring those receipts back when they get back, and the board could authorize them to get the per diem and be reimbursed up to the per diem. So there are a couple of ways to look at that, but I will review the current board policies and take a look at what we're doing and come back to the board with a recommendation of how I think we should proceed. But the idea is we don't want the district to have any consequences for that, and we also don't want our employees to have any tax consequences from that. And if everything is handled appropriately, then it will all run smoothly. So those are the items that they mentioned. They also said they did not do any ESSER testing. We're still working on ESSER 3. That's a work in progress. They did not want to test that until we completed the work that we're doing on it. And but we have closed out the ESSER 1 and 2. So that's pretty much the audit update. They finished today. They left right at 4 o'clock. Overall, they were pleased. They complimented everyone in the business office and in the administration building for responding to them promptly and accurately, and indicated they'll be back in September, on September 11th. So with that, I'll open up for any questions.
Madam President, Madam Chair. That made sense to me. The way you framed it, you went through your notes. You took that fancy audit language, it made it good for me. So thank you.
You're welcome. Yep, thanks.
Are we all done?
I want to comment.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you. You truly do have my confidence, because a couple things came up and you don't sugarcoat, and that's what I really appreciate, because we can't make good decisions on sugarcoating. So thank you for that. Thank you for explaining how some staff could now incur taxes because they're not bringing a full receipt.
Yeah.
And I think that's good progress. It shows me that the audit was taken serious, because audits are serious,
Yes.
you know, and you have to address them in a timely fashion. So thank you for that. And I just wanted to put, because I am one that come down hard, But if I come down hard in public, I'll compliment you in public also. So
Okay.
thank you, Mr. Jones, and Mr. Other Jones, too. Thank you. Well, Mr. Kevin Lynn, Superintendent Kevin Lynn Jones, I thank you for the improvement that I see in you, and I do take your calls now.
You can go and then I'll say something. Go ahead.
Okay. CFO
Trustee
Jones, thank you for, I know we already, the preliminary stages, but thank you for just all the work that you've been doing. Every board meeting, I'm gonna try to appreciate and thank you for it because, it's sad that you had to be here, but we're glad that you are here and everything, right? So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee King. I
Okay.
just have one. You just said you was gonna do ESSA 3. What about ESSA 2? Are you gonna look at ESSA 2 or you just working on ESSA 3?
Well, I'm going to look at ESSA 2. The auditor certainly will as well, but I'm told by the ISD, I have not looked at ESSA 2 since I've been there, but I'm told that that's fully spent. From their perspective, it's not a lot for me to look at this point.
Okay.
But ESSA 3 is the main one because that's where we still have funds to spend, and we're still working with supplanting general fund costs, and then we need to also fit in some of the construction projects into that.
I guess the question we had about ESSA 2, could we verify that ESSA 2 funds were spent?
Yes.
We have a report being created, but ESSER 2 has been fully spent. I think it was over 44 million. But ESSER 2 has been fully spent.
Fully spent.
And Ms. Nag is working on a report that I can upload to our new document that I shared today.
Okay, because in the past when I was president, you was kind enough, you gave me a report when we did ESSA 1, and it comes down, and I got a report, and we can just distribute it. But I never seen that report for ESSA 2. So, she's working on it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
She's working on it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've been focusing on some other areas, so that's.
Trustee.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Okay.
Trustee McIntyre.
So this is maybe not an audit update question, but it's a financial question, kind of based on some of the community input that we had at the beginning of the meeting about stipends, reimbursements, payments for employees, and we have a group of employees who are a third-party contract that feel that they weren't compensated equally or equitably like other employees. And it was my understanding at the time, and I get if you don't have the answers to this, but I think it's something that we should probably address and because I take those concerns very seriously. But it was my understanding that when we did the stipend, the payout, sorry? Well, I'm just, because of the ESSER funds, because the question was from the community member, you've got extra ESSER money, you've got remainder ESSER money, can we have it, can there be a payout? And it's my understanding that it's already been allocated. We've got, it may not have been spent per se, but we do supplanting and some other things with it. And also just the difficulty of compensating third-party vendors. We cannot touch that. And is that's what I understand, and I just want to say, am I on the right track, or is there something else I need to look at? But in terms of ESSER money, we've allocated it, and
Yep. So
you know what I'm trying to ask.
we took this to our attorneys
Okay.
because I was involved in being like you were. Like, wait a minute, you telling me that there's a whole group of people that actually is this group of people? We have more support staff than we actually do have employees of the district, and we fought tooth and nail to understand why we were giving a certain amount of money to just one group of people. And it was brought to us from our attorneys that we are not their employer and we could not act as their employer in giving those funds to that group of people.
We were legally restricted.
We
'cause
were legally restricted to do so. We had several forums with that group that we invited them to talk about this specifically. So I do understand how they would feel if I'm coming to work doing the work with the teachers, with the principals, but you hand them a check and you don't hand us one. And it was legal information given to us that we could not do that. And it wasn't anyone on this board that did not want them to receive it. It was the legal obligation for us to not cross over into being an employer to third party that caused that to happen.
So my follow-up question is just, I'm wondering where this misinformation is coming from, that we've got this extra money or something like that, and that we didn't do our due diligence, or we could be creative in a different way, because it's like you said, we racked our brains and tried to figure out a way to be equitable and to use this ESSER money, and I'm just wondering if there was just some information that had come up with the audit, or like why now? Why all out of the blue after, you know?
I think some of that in my conversations with some of the behavior specialists and support staff, when we say at this table, left to spend,
Okay.
when we make conversation about we have to spend ESSER 3, many people are thinking that we haven't allocated these funds. But we have. ESSER 3 did come after ESSER 2, and all of these funds weren't available to Flint schools. Now that these funds have become available, the work was done to allocate for renovations. That work was happening last year. And so it's not true that we just have a pot of money sitting there that's not allocated for renovations or allocated to supplant wages and benefits. If you can remember, back at the meeting you talked about in March, we had ESSER 3 on the table, and allocations were done for ESSER 3 March 2022. March 2022, we had the big documents. I supplied every board member with that. In that, you'll find...
And Trustee Walker, talking about the sunset ones, yeah.
So you'll find that we had allocated, but when we make comments that left to spend, or we have not done this, or we have not done that, and we got this amount of money, I think sometimes that is being interpreted as, well, if you have 80 million, or if you have 50 million, then why can't you give some of that to us? And these funds are already allocated. So.
Thank you for that clarification, and sorry if I had to ask it in that way.
No, that's
if I had to
fair.
ask that, because I just wasn't sure if it was something that came up with the audit, or, you know,
Yeah, no.
if there's
no,
something I didn't know. Thank you.
No.
Trustee, okay.
Hi, this is
Trustee Rutherford.
Trustee McIntyre. When it comes to, for the young lady who were talking about not receiving the money, with them being in education, their employers could have applied for money for them.
Right.
So I think it would be I don't know if Mr. Jones, if you would say something different, I think we would be in good standings if we would supply them with a memo stating that with Flint schools not being their employer, that is a question for their actual employer, because with them being in education, their employer could have applied for funding because they were in the schools working. So that's clearly on EduStaff. So the question would be, did you all receive funding for us because of the business that they're in? I just wanted to share that. I wasn't sure if you were aware of that, but I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, I was, yeah. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jones, Mr. Henwood. All right, so continuing with the agenda, I now turn the floor over to Mr. Superintendent Jones for information regarding the backpack policy.
Yes. So I wanted to bring this back to the table because remember, the backpack policy, it was just for the remainder of the year. So I didn't want to bring an agenda action item. I wanted us to have some conversation, and I wanted to just reveal some thoughts to you from some of the staff since we have been in this backpack, I guess, this policy that we have put together. And so I have spoken to the unions about the backpack policy. I have heard from our teachers and the principals, and the only concern is for the K-6. The concern is there. I just wanted to bring it to your attention that the concern is there. Either we're going to stay with the policy as is, or we either get book bags or clear book bags for case 6, or and not for a secondary. We're hearing from secondary that we can remain the same, but we're not hearing that, as you have heard from some teachers that have come forward. But the UTF and the principals have stated that they do have concern with not having backpacks for our pre-K through 6th grade. So I wanted to bring that forward as they brought that information to me, and have some conversation around it. Or the board can decide that maybe you want to have a special meeting and you hear from more of the staff before you make a decision to go as we are or to add those backpacks. So I just wanted to bring the discussion to the table as we're getting closer to the new year. That policy was only for the end of the school year. So because that's how it was brought to the table and the action item was there, then that means we go back to where we were if we don't make some type of decision. So I just wanted to bring that forward. If the board would like to table the conversation and have a special meeting and bring some staff and some that are concerned, or if the board would just like to have some discussion today and then we decide later, but we need to decide before we go back to school. As I have sought attorney, we go right back to the policy we had before because it was motioned to be until the end of the school year.
That's true.
I do have a comment. Personally, I think that we should have Mr. Stewart here. And, some of the principals, I don't, I honestly think that we should have, can y'all hear, you can't hear me? Okay.
I think hearing from Mr. Clack, if I may,
Yeah.
I think Mr. Stewart was, I spoke
Ms.
to
Moore,
him.
I'm sorry. Ms. Moore, would you come up too, please?
Yeah, sure. Not you, Mr. Jones. You can leave if you want to, Mr. Jones.
Oh, well, Mr.
You want Ms. Moore?
I want Mr. Henderson. Mr. Henderson, did you give me a time frame?
He said in the next week.
He said in the next week. What's that date? What's the date? I ain't say day, I said date.
Did you say
What's the
Ms.
date?
Moore come up?
What are we,
This week.
what are we talking about now?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, he was supposed to give me a
How
date.
are we gonna change the agenda?
Were you
We
asking for
didn't
Ms. Moore
change
to
the
come up?
agenda. He didn't
Are we-
cancel.
Oh, okay.
First. I would, that's why I gave the other option, Mr. Clack, in respect to what you're saying, if you wanted to have a more robust conversation to where we can invite some others in. However, the biggest perspective for me, outside of myself and the team at Central Office, comes from the buildings, because they have to deal with this every day. Yes, we have a perspective, but I guess my perspective wouldn't be the main perspective, as we're hearing from teachers, parapros, behavior specialists, and security, and all of those folks that are saying, at this level we need this, at this level we're good. So we can't have a discussion about it, but I just wanted to put that out there. And like you said, I hear you. Having other people at the table that has to deal with this every day is very important. But I do know that these ladies can give some perspective to the conversation, if that's what you want to hear, Boris.
And that was no offense to you all saying that you couldn't,
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir, Trustee King.
School start August 9th. I think if we can spend our next board meeting having that as a we discussed a little briefly here, right?
You mean that tomorrow, next week or in August?
Next week, our regular board meeting, we could probably make some action then. We could probably discuss a little here, discuss a little again next week, because scheduling another meeting, that's gonna take some time. We gotta find availabilities. School start August 9th. We have, next week to talk about. It's only academics gonna be probably for next week, right? So,
Point of information.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. What's your comment?
If we were to take action, wouldn't we have to have a special meeting in order to follow the policy, to have it come before? Because this is the cow. And so because it's not on the cow, it needs to come through the cow and then go to the,
It doesn't have to.
it's
it doesn't have
It
to?
doesn't
That's,
have to
that
be.
was my point of information.
You
Okay.
can make a motion, or I can bring a motion to the board members. Remember, we're under Neola now.
So, okay, so we don't have to, okay, that was my point of order. Thank you.
yeah, so, to my colleagues, I think we can have a brief discussion tonight, think on it for next week, and then let's make a decision next week, because in my mind is, we wait till the last minute, again, we talk about communication. Let's make sure that's communicated out. This is what the policy we're going with. I don't know whether that includes getting numbers, how much it would cost for, K-6 backpacks, what would that look like? We could talk about that and preparation for next week. But let's, I don't want to prolong this conversation. So we have some good discussion here briefly in my mind, and next meeting, we can make a decision. Because calling a special meeting, it's going to be,
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'll be brief. So I have two comments. When this clear backpack policy first came to the board in February, it wasn't on the agenda, and it was kind of a surprise to us, at least to me it was. I'll speak for myself. So I think communicating that more proactively, I think you're doing that right now, so I appreciate that. So I think it could have ended a different way had it been brought in a different way. Second, to my colleagues, when we've had this discussion in the past, I think we were in a more contentious environment, and I really think I'm hoping we can find some common ground to address this in a responsible, proactive manner this go around. Whatever that may look like, I'm looking forward to hearing the discussion and from the professionals in the room, but I'm hopeful that we can accomplish this at some point before school starts.
Okay, did you?
So in regards to what happened after we instituted the backpack policy, I can tell you that with ALA, out of 141 scholars that showed to school, 100% of them did not come with a backpack after we made the proper protocols and put all of the communication into place. And there were no complaints for the entire year at the high school level. I cannot say that for my elementary colleagues. There were some barriers that they had to incur as a result for the K through 6 experience of what scholars need to bring to school, what things can go home sometimes. So I would speak, and I think that Mr. Jones and I have both had discussion around this. I think that it would be perfectly acceptable to have a K through 6 policy for backpacks and still maintain a 7 through 12. I'm going to let Ms. Moore speak to her experience about the backpacks and what happened with her, and that might make an impact on your decision and what way you might sway at this time. But I do still feel firmly that myself, that 7 through 12, it would be beneficial for us to not have backpacks at the 7 through 12 level. K through 6, though, I do think that it would be prudent to evaluate and examine whether clear backpacks could possibly be the way to go to take away some of the barriers that our colleagues at the elementary level have sustained.
For 6, 7,
They turned you off.
for 6, 7, and 8 at Holmes, we did not have an issue with the backpacks because pretty much what they had in their backpack was snacks. So we did not have that issue, and our teachers was grateful because it was more of a hassle than it, was not. So them not bringing the backpacks was a positive for us at Holmes Middle School.
President Clark.
Mr. Pert.
Oh, I'm sorry. Trustee Rutherford.
I think for me, I would like the parents to be involved,
Absolutely.
and I would definitely I would prefer K through 3. I think 4th, 5th, and 6th graders are well capable of handling without having a backpack. To me, I think that would help with the transition, because if we put them back to backpacks and they go to high school after the 6th grade, it's, to not having one. So let's transition them. I like K through 3 because of the time we're living in. The younger people are a lot more aggressive. But I think all schools now have metal detectors, if I'm not mistaken, correct? So if all schools have metal detectors, especially elementary schools, I think K through 3 would be okay having backpacks because they're not, to me, it's just smelling one. They don't know how to organize their paperwork until like 4th, 5th grade, you got it down packed. You know, you could put it in everything in your book and carry it. But like one of the teachers said, the little ones, they end up with Kroger bags, you know, with all their belongings. So I'm not against, voting to implement that for K through 3.
Superintendent Jones just informed me, 1 second, that the metal detectors that are at the the metal detectors that are at the elementary schools are for the guests that enter the school and not for the students that are attending the school. So they're not the students aren't walking through the metal detectors. It's for the guests.
Well, what's the purpose of having a metal detector if the kid's not walking through it?
That's just at the elementary schools.
That's currently the situation.
The current policy that we have in the code book does indicate that only our 7 through 12 students should be going through our metal detectors. And I mean, part of that is built into dismantling systems that are a school to prison pipeline to make kids not feel militarized when they walk through our schoolroom doors. That's part of what the implications are. I think that with consideration of what you're saying around separating the K through 3 and the 4 through 6, it would be prudent to think about how that's managed in the system to differentiate between kids coming through the door for checks. For instance, if you have a bus load full of kids that are delivered to your, to your doorstep, they're all not going to be K through 3 kids, and so there is a entrance procedure that would be developed, and of course that would be adhered to around kids that would have to enter the building in order to make the idea that you're thinking about doing work.
I guess the goal is to make sure everybody's safe,
Yeah.
right? So if we have metal detectors, I guess I'm missing, why aren't all students walking through the metal detector? I don't see prison or pipeline at all in that. I see safety. You go through metal detectors when you're getting on the plane.
I'm not disagreeing
Including
with the,
kids,
with
right?
the,
Or do
with
kids
the
go
issues
around?
of safety for sure.
Is it a law that I don't know about?
No,
Is it a law?
no, but it is a
Oh.
procedure that's in our code book that
Well, we can change the
outlines
code
that our
book.
K through 6 students do
Oh,
not go through
okay.
metal detectors.
No, everybody need to walk through that.
So, yeah, could you speak to?
Yeah, so the purpose of us getting those metal detectors was an added security for our guests that was coming in. When some of the staff that came forward to talk about safety, they mentioned these metal detectors. They mentioned what they were for, and it was because we were having guests come in buildings, and we were not checking those guests. Our children, we were doing a soft walk of instituting more safeties in. We were not going strong into let's check every book bag. We don't have the safety advocate staff to be able to do that at the level of kindergarten through 6th grade. We have one advocate at every building. In our secondary, we have 6 to 7 advocates that can make this transition of checking book bags, going through book bags a lot faster than it would be for one person to have to check all of those bags. So currently, our situation was more about making sure that folks that walked in the building that were guests, this is the current situation, folks walking in the building had went through the check and also went through the new system that we have in place to ensure more safety for our scholars and our staff. So that's currently the situation. If an exploration of if the board wants to look into that differently, I think more conversation around that is going to take more people at the table and a more robust conversation. However, when it comes to the backpacks, the ask from the educators is a K-6 model with a 712 to continue the model we have. So regardless of what we decide next week, a decision will have to be made, or we go back to the policy that we had.
And if I could just say behind what you said, Mr. Jones, thank you. In addition to that, elementary schools have several points of entry that they have to consider because bus stops off at different places because of those particular issues of entrance. So just to reiterate your point of how do you accommodate that request would be a very, very difficult push. And I do believe that Mr. Stewart would also be willing to probably come and speak to these particular issues as well, and to voice his concerns as he eloquently has done before and supported in the past in regards to issues of safety.
Okay, Vice President Benil.
Hi, thank you. We done had this conversation. I'm concerned about K through 6. These are the most important development years of a child. We have over 12,000 some kids. I done taught at charter school. I watch them every day. They K through 6 is not getting on bus with clear plastic book bags. We have to allow our children an opportunity in that age to choose. I don't think that K through 6 create a danger to the point that only Flint Community School children K through 6 need a clear plastic book bag for safety. There are other mechanisms. I believe when I was over at Holmes, there was one young lady was required because of what she did from a parent bad decision, and she was made, only way she can bring a book bag in, it had to be clear. I don't believe in punity. We're punishing, we teach our kids, we got these great awards and encourage them to do the right thing, and then they have to be penalized because somebody is not doing the right thing. I don't support that clear book bag, but I think all children need them in that age. I'm gonna give you an example. A lot of children won't even go to the food pantry and get food because other children embarrass them. But if you put it in a book bag and put it in there, they don't draw that attention to them. So we have to be concerned about that. We want them to be able to go to the food pantry. And so they won't go. They don't want the plastic bag with food falling all out of it. In the past, I believe we was at Dorada, we put them in backpacks. They go to the food pantry and use it for backpack, putting their food in there. So if you're gonna start doing that, then you're gonna end up, they're gonna dump that food out before they get to the bus. They're embarrassing them because other kids gonna make mockery of it. I think we need to have more discussion. What does safety look like? Our kindergarten, first, second, and third, they're excited. They wanna pick their book bag. They wanna have fun and finding themselves. Then we start putting them on plastic backpack. Next thing you're gonna put them on a uniform. Next thing we're gonna have, oh, y'all have to wear orange suits. I understand the other teachers' concern. If it was the higher level, then we can have this discussion. But why don't we just try and let our children develop and find themselves and fit in with the community? All the other community, these kids are in the community. So why do we have to say Flint children, K through 6, the little few thousand we have to have a clear bag, but her next door neighbor can go to International somewhere else and can have what they want. So I think we need to have further discussion we're talking about safety. If we want to remove from this pipeline prison conversation, and let's let those kindergartens, K through 2nd, should be concentrating on a clear understanding of reading, writing, and arithmetic. That's what they need to be clear on, reading, writing, so when they get to the 3rd grade, the teacher can do their job. Thank you.
Okay, Trustee McIntyre.
What?
You left her.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought that we'd had this discussion, and thank you for clarifying that it's just something that we have to, there's a technicality, and I think that I'm pretty firm in my stance against the school to prison pipeline, and if anyone wants to have like a discussion, I'm certainly welcome to discuss the finer points of that, because it's not just an immediate thing. It's not immediate one thing, like this is what the school to prison pipeline is. And, but there are things that contribute to it. And one of the things that contributes to it is making kids line up, go single file through metal detectors, subjecting them to more increased surveillance and searches, and creating a culture where they're under suspicion. And it actually, studies show that it actually doesn't increase safety. It doesn't even necessarily increase perceived safety. What it does increase is anger and more frightened students, and that it actually contributes to violence. It's a misnomer. It doesn't detract from violence. It actually creates a situation that foments it and cultivates it. So I would really be careful about having a cutoff at the 3rd grade, because that's precisely where studies are done to show that students are either going to go to college or they're going to go to prison. And beds and correctional facilities are calculated based on 3rd grade reading scores. So I don't want to have like, oh, you're going to have clear backpacks and you're going to have this kind of metal detector, you know, for up to 3rd grade, because that almost like it's almost like we're inadvertently feeding into the school to prison pipeline, whether or not we recognize it.
Point of information. Are you aware that 3rd graders, prisons are built based on 3rd graders' behavior and not their reading level?
That's a point of information.
That's
think
a question. Are you aware?
A question? I would disagree with that. I
just asked you,
I would
are you
disagree
aware?
with that,
Wait,
because
wait,
that's
wait.
not a
Ladies,
conclusive
ladies,
to
we
a
can't go
standing.
back
So
and forth.
I still have the floor,
Right, I know,
and so that was a disingenuous point of information. So I really would discourage us to make Flint students out to be more aggressive, more violent, because again, we have studies that show that African American children and students are seen and perceived as more aggressive, more violent, as being older than they are. I mean, that's just data, that's just facts, and we don't want to feed into that paranoia and misinformation. And so, as a school board member, I'm going to defer again to the experts. If you don't want backpacks because of expediency's sake and because it's going to make the culture and climate better for everybody, then I can agree with that. But what I do not agree with is putting kids in clear backpacks and orange jumpsuits and making them stand in line and teaching them how to behave as if they're in a correctional facility. Because right now, the only thing it seems they're going to be learning is how to obey orders and go through a metal detector. They're certainly not learning how to read and write and do math.
Trustee King.
All right. As my colleagues know, school safety is my thing. So, quick question, Mr. Jones. When did the metal detectors get installed in elementary?
They're being installed. They started this week.
Okay.
They are all in the district. They started this week, and Mr. Stewart and Mr. Henderson is linking up to ensure that they start them up, get them going next week.
Got you.
So
Okay.
yeah.
So to Ms. Fields and Ms. Moore that's here, you're saying teachers and principals, administrators is saying K-6, we need a remedy for K-6, and potential remedy could be clear backpacks for K-6.
Yes, sir.
7 through 12 is, we're fine with no backpacks based off what our staff that's inside the district, that's doing the work, they recommend 7 through 12, no backpacks, K-6, probably giving them clear backpacks.
So far, overwhelmingly, the report that I've received from staff, and really students alike, is that they were fine with the 7 through 12 not having backpacks.
Okay, so in my mind, if we all say we want to listen to the experts specifically said K-6, try to give them clear backpacks, 7 through 12, they're fine. We are not inside the schools at all. We are not inside the classrooms at all. When you look at it, I mean, have any of you been through Alice training? I mean, I really want to ask you, you've been in the classroom.
Yes, I have.
As a student, that is the most scariest thing on my mind. The first thing I think about is, what door am I going out of? K-6, okay, give them clear backpacks. It's fine. But when you talk about school to prison pipeline, I get it. I really do, right? I can't say we're putting our kids in orange jumpsuits because we're taking safety precautions, making sure our students is fine. If no other district want to, you know, be proactive in safety, so be it. But this is Flint Schools, and as a former student recently, I understand what our scholars are thinking about. I can understand what teachers and support staff are saying, that if they're asking for something, give it to them. They simply ask. This is not hard. This is the board getting in the way of really giving teachers something simple. A sense of security. They're asking, okay, let's try K through 6, clear backpacks. I don't see the problem with that. You cannot try to emotionally bait and say, well, that's pipeline to prison, that's going to be orange jumpsuits. Our scholars are beautiful and wonderfully made, and they have great brains, and we have support staff to help support them in that. Our students is not always out here gangbanging. We have some intelligent students that really want to go to school safely. We can't always use excuse of school to prison pipeline. Yes, our board has acknowledged that. I'll support any resolution that any colleague bring up and say this is what our stance is, but the safety of our scholars is important. I can't emotionally bait folks and say that orange jumpsuits, school to prison pipeline, because you all are not inside the classrooms at all. I really want to, push our board to understand that our decisions have a ripple effect on this district. Once we make a decision, if our staff don't understand where we're going with that, if we say we want to prioritize security in our district, okay, let's make it, really clear. Clear backpacks for K through 6. It's not hard at all. But to bait and say, emotionally bait and say, we're going to be in orange jumpsuits because you're giving orders, I would rather have a clear backpack than no backpack in K through 6. I understand I want to take books home. I want to take the papers home. I get that. I said that in the beginning. Why can't we just do that? But no, let's do it all across. Okay, cool. I'm supporting that. But if the professional telling you that's inside the classroom, clear backpacks, listen to them. If you don't listen to anything else, you're not the one in the classroom. You're not the ones that have to be fearful of their lives. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, I think really to go above and beyond, elementary kids need to be walking through metal detectors, because we had a case where a child forgot they had a knife in the backpack. Okay, that metal detector could have stopped at that right there, because you can't forget. That's just in my mind. We need to be more aggressive with safety in this district. You all, I'm just saying, being inside of school, really sitting in the classroom and learning, my mind is on safety. I'm going to push our board to do more safety policies as much as possible, but you guys, that's crucial. You can't bait and say emotionally prison and pipeline and prison and all that just to negate safety. I would speak up against that each time. We all agree, school to prison pipeline is there. We want to abolish that part, but safety of our students, our staff, is top priority. You can't be doing that. I'm going to support K through 6 clear backpacks. 7 through 12, I'm going to support what the professionals say.
So I would like to agree with Trustee King. Before, when we brought this up, I was neither here nor there when it came to the backpack policy. It was, if we vote for it, yeah. If we agree, if we don't, then we don't. But now, especially seeing we are about to combine 2 schools. Regardless of our own personal feelings, I think that we need to keep in mind that the people that are going to be in the classroom or in the building with these students every single day, their safety is our number one concern. It should be our number one concern. If they're asking for no backpacks for 7 through 12, especially with the situation that we're getting ready to go through, then I think it should be granted. I personally think K through 6 is fine. I do agree that they might need to walk through the metal detectors just because kids are inquisitive and they're curious. They might walk past whatever and pick it up and put it in a bag, or so maybe just changing that part of policy that would allow them to walk through the metal detectors. But I think personally, at least for this upcoming school year, we need to adhere to the current backpack policy that we have, and that that we'll for 7 through 12 is what I'm saying. From K through 6, I think that it would be fine. So I think that's just my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple things. I have a question through you, Mr. President, to Mr. Jones. So, Mr. Jones, does the entire policy it's expired, so we come into this August start of the school year, there's nothing with regards to backpacks that's in policy? Help me understand.
Okay, so the motion that was made was for us to have no book bags until the end of the school year.
So they can have, because that expired, they can have book bags again. Okay,
Correct.
so, thank you. Here's what I'm hearing. It sounds like this board is okay with no backpacks for 7 through 12. I think that's something we can pass tonight that we can be ready for, at least in the secondary level. I would say, in my opinion, as a compromise to this clear backpack policy, how about we make that for K through 6, you can have backpacks. However, you can have the option if your parent would like to bring a clear backpack and you provide that. That way you give the parent the choice. To me, that seems like a viable solution. That way the district isn't mandating clear backpacks to those K through 6 parents or giving the family the options. If they don't want to have if they want to bring one, they can bring one. We got to make a solution now because the status quo is not where we need to be at right now. They're coming to us, the admin team, the teachers are. What are y'all thoughts?
Okay, Secretary Perkins.
I think safety is the overriding priority, period. And I think that, I guess I agree with Melody about the parents' interaction with some of this, just to see what they really think. Also, the clear backpacks, no backpack policy worked for the rest of the year. There were no incidents, according to what the experts were saying. So I guess I would really say no backpacks for me, period. That's where I'm at.
Okay, hold on. Secretary Perkins? Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
If we had to make a decision, I would just, and for further discussion, look at what Trustee Dillon said. Let that be a parent, leave that up to the parent. Is at some point, we got to leave something to the parent and let the parent make that decision. And I would support that. If the parent wants to, let them make that decision. Some parent want their child to have one. Some parent they need that food. They don't want to be embarrassed. So let that parent decide what that child takes in their school and bring it back. Maybe we can sit down on which we're supposed to be looking at, policy and procedures, safety. And we have to bring this to the table when we're talking about policy and procedure. But as we go into August the 9th, for K through 6, until we come up with a solid plan, I would suggest I think I heard Trustee Mellon said something about parent involvement. I hear Trustee Luna saying something about parent involvement, and I would support that as we move into our discussion, because we as the board have to create policy on safety and security that benefit all for the greater outcome of our children, and that's not losing themselves in the system created by a human being, and let them grow up where they can learn how to read and write from K through 2nd. Thank you.
Trustee King.
I would go even farther. I get the parent involvement, but letting parents choose between sending their kid with a no backpack and a clear backpack is just saying, just come with a clear backpack. Having the parents pay for it. All right, guys, we talk about how our community is not, economically, advantaged in certain cases when the district has funds to pay for clear backpacks. Why would we have your option? We can have it at the schools. Okay, you don't have a backpack, we can give you a clear backpack. Do that, but not having the parents pay for it, so I can't compromise with that. Okay, we say no backpacks, except for a clear backpack. The district provides you a clear backpack if you so choose, but not making the parents pay for it. Yeah. That's in my mind. No.
They give them away free.
No, but also, when I think about parent involvement, you guys, every decision that we make, we can't, I'm gonna just say hide behind parent involvement. We just can't do it because 5 of us was recently elected by this community, by parents, to make those hard decisions.
All 7.
We were all elected. Well, I'm saying recently. I wasn't, no disrespect to our two veterans, but recently, We were elected to make the hard decisions for our students. The other 2 board members were elected, before to make those hard decisions with us. But keep saying parent involvement gonna take time. Time is running out. August 9th is the start of school. So I would suggest, we had a discussion next week. You invite parents to the conversation. Let's have a robust conversation together. But I'm telling you, there's no point of not doing clear backpacks. Because if your professionals is telling you to do K through 6, listen to them. You all are not in the classroom. I'm gonna just say it. There's no disrespect here. I'm just saying you all are not in the classroom. You all are not dealing with the decisions that's ripple effect. We had a teacher come up before. I'm tired of giving my kids grocery bags. Why are we giving grocery bags out? We all know how flimsy those grocery bags is in Walmart when you drop that gallon of milk in there in the break. We know that. Come on now. How many times we got our kids want to read books? Give them clear backpacks. It's not hard.
They don't want their
I just don't get. We can't hide behind parent involvement because that's going to take time. We know that. Parent involvement, we are always elected. You can invite them to the next board meeting. Let's have a conversation about it. But we have to move. We cannot keep wasting time on this. This is the safety of our scholars here. I'm going to just disagree respectfully to my colleagues in some cases. Listen to the professionals, do it right, and move on. You say you want to listen to staff, they're telling you. Listen to them.
Treasurer Luna.
Yeah, I'll make a few comments first. I think parental involvement is key. So we had that survey about this whole issue 2.5 months ago. A couple things we saw was a small sample size, and there was, correct me if I'm wrong, there was overall majority of staff and parents weren't for it, and on the flip side, the students were against it. So I know we have made efforts to reach out to parents, and I know individually, board members have done that too. So I'm gonna make this motion to advance this idea to the next meeting, not to pass tonight, but to the next meeting. Wait, can I make the motion first? No, I said comment first, and I'll make the motion. So the motion is for the school year 2023-2024 to ban backpacks for K through 12. However, for K6, the parents have the option to provide their students a backpack and to enter the school. Does that make sense?
You meant K through 6?
Yeah, so I'll say it slowly. I can talk
Well, they
fast.
give 'em away
So
anyway.
the motion is that for this upcoming school year, we ban backpacks K through 12. However, for K through 6, if the parent so chooses, they may provide their student with a clear backpack. Does that make sense?
They may?
The parents.
Yeah.
Or do we give them a backpack?
Okay, so
We get
let
free
me,
book
let me,
bags.
let me, let me
We
word
get
it correctly,
free
because I know
anyway.
it can be kind of
We get 'em
complicated.
free anyway.
Point of information. I think Mr. Jones said we're gonna have a discussion next week. This is just
Yes.
information.
No, but I can still make a motion.
I guess you didn't let me finish, but
I have the
why
floor.
make a motion and we're not ready? Because
If you
we're
heard what
gonna
I-
have everyone.
Point of information.
Wait a minute.
I
We
have the floor.
gotta keep order. He's got the floor.
I have the floor, thank you. So again, I want to be clear with what I'm saying. I want to advance this motion to the next board meeting for discussion. So it passes tonight, then it goes to the board, the full board. The motion is we ban backpacks K through 12. K through 6, parents have the option of their students having a backpack, clear backpack to school that the district can't provide if they so choose to use the backpack for their student. Did that make sense? So essentially, K through 6, the kids, if they want to, through their parents, they can have a clear backpack. If they wanted to bring a clear backpack to the school, the district would provide them that. It wouldn't pass tonight, it's just going to the board meeting next week for discussion. It's not passing tonight. I think it's a solution, it's a compromise, and we have a whole week to talk to our constituents, our parents, our teachers, our staffs, our professional administration, if that would make sense. If it doesn't make sense, we can vote it down at the next board meeting, and there we go. But that's just a solution that I believe is a compromise on the table. Mr. Jones, would that make sense to you?
So point of information. So this, I understand the motion. So this motion, the motion is to put it on the agenda as to add it as a motion
As an action item.
as an action item that will be discussed and voted on in the next meeting, and if agreed to, passed, and if not, rejected.
Exactly. And Mr. Jones, you may want to, the way I worded it, did it make sense to you?
Yes, I understand it.
And if maybe,
He's trying to
to help
make
us as a
action.
board, maybe you could
I
craft
understand.
some language for us?
I do understand the motion, and it's clearly what Trustee McIntyre just stated, so I do understand the motion.
So if there's a support for it, I mean, the motion's on the ground. If there's support, if not, it dies. All right,
Now,
well,
what happened?
So you made the motion already?
I just made the motion.
Just made the motion.
So, wait a minute, wait. I need a little bit of clarity. Could you restate the motion?
Yeah, so
please?
let me state it, because it is confusing how I described it, but I'll try it a different way, because I want this to at least go for discussion as an action item next week. The motion is, we advance this motion to the next full board meeting. The district bans backpacks for students in K-12. However, students in K-6 have the option of having a clear backpack if their parent gives consent, period. If the parent would like their student to have a clear backpack, the district would then provide that clear backpack to that student or students if the parent so chooses.
Otherwise, they do not bring a backpack.
Otherwise, there's no backpack for that student.
Point of
Support.
information for me, how will we get backpacks between now and August 9th?
Point of information, it's been supported, and so now we have to open up,
Who supported it?
that's a.
Did nobody even hear it?
Right,
Sorry.
that's why I said point of information, so, and point of information, we can't talk about, we can't have a discussion until it's been supported anyway, so this is,
Now supported, so we're in discussion.
so, yeah.
So now we are in discussion. Trustee King.
Mr. Chair, I don't agree with it. I just don't. The reason why I don't agree with it is you're not banning backpacks, you're just providing an exception. It doesn't, I get it, Trustee Luna, I really do, but that's not exactly. You just might as well give K-6, clear backpack. That's the same thing, but it's just different, because you're not actually banning backpacks district-wide. If you just give K-6 clear backpacks, 7-12, leave it where they at. But that's just providing an exception that's not right.
Mr. President,
Okay.
you can go, Mr. Jones.
Superintendent Jones.
Would it be easier for the board that I just bring the motion that I just brought you from the teachers and the unions, and then you can discuss it and vote it up or down? And they can come next week. Some of them are telling me they'll be here next week anyway, so they can come next week and you can have the discussion.
Without
Would that
objection,
make it easier
Is that a
just to
table?
bring the motion next week of what is being requested?
That was what you
yeah, without objection, I can withdraw the motion then.
Okay.
He withdrew his motion.
He would do-
You
okay.
withdrew the motion?
Without objection.
Huh?
Without objection.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Okay, so
Okay.
Vice
So I
President.
we can add the action item, and then we can go into a
Okay.
discussion about, the action item would be along the lines, K-6 will have clear book bags, seeking a motion for the board to approve K-6 to have clear book bags, 7-12 to not bring book bags. And then the discussion goes from there.
Okay. Did you still want to speak?
It was my turn.
It was
Oh.
Melanie, because she was trying to
My bad.
speak,
I'm sorry,
and we
ma'am.
withdrew it, so it's.
My bad. I thought I crossed.
Trustee Melanie, I'm sorry, Miss
Go ahead,
Melanie.
Trustee Melanie. I'm sorry.
That's okay, I ain't upset.
My right.
No rudeness happens on this board. Anyway, for me, I guess hearing the teachers having to swipe, because we're having to, the adults have to swipe now before they can get in the building. That's district-wide, correct? Mr. Jones?
Talking about the staff?
No, the adults, when they walk in the buildings, they have to swipe the background check thing?
Yeah, when they come in, yes. After they come into the building and.
Once they get in the building?
Yes, they
Okay,
have to go
so
through.
they come in the building, go through the metal detector, and then swipe?
Correct.
So that's 2 layers. I guess for me, 4th grade through 6th graders, I don't agree. I think they need to stay on the no backpack because of, one, the young lady who mistakenly still had a knife to protect herself. At that age, 4th grade, they're aware of so much, and there's a lot of aggression, and I think we're putting the teachers and the other students in harm's way by allowing them to have a backpack. And even if we did agree, the district doesn't have any clear backpacks at the moment, because from what I saw, they all been sent back, so we wouldn't have enough time unless somebody knows something that I'm not aware of. But I just think when we make a decision, we need to stick with it because the families will adjust. And it's never a time limit on getting parent involvement because at the end of the day, the parent is responsible for that child regardless. So we should never shortcut anything because we think it's going to prolong it if we involve the parents. It starts with the parents. We have to hear from the parents. If they don't get involved, it's their choice, but you cannot allow them the opportunity to be involved when it comes to their child. And I think this board kind of lose sight of that. And the teachers are not professionals, they're teachers. They are not professionals. They are not experts when it comes to safety, they're teachers. They're aware of what's going on in their room and in their building. But when it comes to safety, as Mr. Stewart has stated, he doesn't want backpacks, period. So, Mr. Luna, that is why I was saying that to you, because Mr. Clack requested that Mr. Stewart be in front of us before we do anything. And I just think that's just a proper way. Have the right people at the table before you make a decision so you don't have to start over. And that's something what we tend to do. We take off running without having the right people at the starting line, and then we have to start all over. So I just want us to get away from that. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
After Vice President McNeil was next, and then.
It wasn't a question. I guess I was trying to follow up the reason I said that we could make this an action item, but now we're going all the way back over to where we started from. I just think that we should move this to the meeting next week, to the meeting, and then we can vote it up or down. It's almost 10 o'clock, because this can go on. This is a sensitive area, and there's no wrong or right. I'm a board member that don't lose focus. I'm very thorough at what I say. I don't like being put down as though I am not focused or I don't do my homework. I've been doing my homework, and I've worked in every school in this district and everybody that come in here and tell you. So I know what we're doing, but at the same time, we need to just postpone this to the next meeting, take it to the next meeting. They done worked all day, it's almost 10 o'clock, and we got to get down here to academic. We can go back and forth. Everybody got opinion.
Right.
But it's the vote that's gonna count.
Right.
Okay, Trustee McIntyre.
Yeah, I don't want to belabor the point. I agree with Trustee Luna that I think that would be a good compromise. I welcome the discussion. I think it's healthy to have a robust discussion because obviously it's a very emotional issue for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. However, I do have to categorically state when a trustee makes the statement that teachers are not professionals, I have to strenuously object and apologize to our teachers. As a daughter of 2 school teachers, we are literally professionals. We get professional degrees and certifications. And to dishonor that, I mean, we talk about how great our teachers are, and then to say something like that, it's insulting and disgusting. And so I just had to say that because I'm sorry to the teachers who are actually sitting here at the table too.
Mr. President.
So, yes, Trustee King.
Ms. Moore, have you ever been a teacher?
Yes. 20 years.
20 years? In your 20 years, would you say safety was your main top priority in the classroom?
Yes.
And you talk to teachers. You're the assistant leader of Holmes, right?
Yes.
And you talk to teachers, and they agreed to no backpacks for secondary levels, right?
Yes.
Do you have any colleagues in the elementaries?
I can't hear you.
Do you have any colleagues in the elementary building principals? You talk to your colleagues in elementary?
Yes.
They agree that K-6 need a remedy, which is clear backpacks they're suggesting?
We haven't had that conversation.
Okay. Okay. Ms. Fields?
Yes, sir.
So in your colleagues and, your experience, teachers are asking, building principals are asking K-6 to have a remedy. The remedy would be allow for clear backpacks, right?
Yes, in some instances, it has been backpacks, period.
Right.
So the conversations have varied, but overwhelmingly, it's been clear backpacks.
Okay. And you would say, in your years, both of you, that teachers put their stuff on the line a lot.
Oh, yes,
Teachers act like security guards inside their classrooms.
very much so, yes.
Teachers have to go above and beyond their call of duty, per se.
Absolutely.
All right.
So, board, if teachers are asking you K-6 clear backpacks, the teacher that's inside the classroom teaching, why not give them the clear backpacks that they're asking for? It's simple. It's simple because, again, we're not the one giving out Kroger, Walmart, Meijer grocery bags. We're not the one that when a kid leaves the K-6 students leave their books, paperwork. We're not the one dealing with that afterwards after they go to class. Hey, where's your homework? I lost it in a plastic bag. We're not dealing with that. Teachers are. The professionals that's inside the classroom day in, day out. I'm going to say risking their lives because you never know what a student may bring, what a person may bring inside a classroom. You guys, this is not hard in my mind. How long will it take to have clear backpacks sent to the district, Mr. Jones?
Mr. President?
I can't give you that, like right up to the day answer, but I would definitely check in the morning and make sure that we, have some type of answer for you, and I can email you all. I'm not sure how long it's going to take
Okay,
for them to get here.
I'm really frustrated because this is simple in my mind. This is security in my mind, but there's also teachers are asking for certain things. We have board members that, advocate for teachers. So we all do. We have board members that are teachers, former teachers, and we're not listening to them at all. I really wish you all would spend a day inside of a classroom every day. Go to a school, teach a class, and worry about safety. Think about that. Really sit in that classroom, teach the class, be on the board, turn your back, and you don't know what somebody could do to you behind you. Think about that. Our job as a board is to secure and keep our district safe. We should go above and beyond every measure to do that. So that's my spiel there. So, Mr. Chair, can I make a motion to move this discussion to next week, next board meeting?
Support. Mr. President,
Yes, Treasurer
just,
Luna.
I think to my colleague's point, Vice President, we can go back and forth all night. This is a very hot topic. We're just getting late. So I think moving this to the next board meeting is prudent, and it'll give the administration time to bring us an action item to really do something or not do something. Hopefully we do something. Number two, I do want to be clear that Mr. Jones in the organizational chart is the chief executive officer of this district. Everyone at the central business office, the corner of Crapo and Kersley, reports directly to him. I don't want to hear from his staff. He's our staff. I want to hear from him. He can talk to his staff who will report to him to bring forth their expert opinion to this meeting. The Director of Personnel Services and Central Enrollment reports to him. And by the way, he's not a school principal, nothing against him. He's never been in the classroom. He's never been a school principal. He's not in that building on the day-to-day like these folks are. This person right here is, this individual right here. These are professional folks who know what they're talking about. Yes, there's some nuance in how they do their pedagogy, but I want to hear from them folks, or if it comes to him, he can tell his boss what he thinks, and he can come to bring it to us, because we are his boss as a body.
Okay, so I'm going to just say, I've been listening. I'm going to agree that we could go back and forth all night long with ideas and issues and, you know, but what I think is important that I don't think not many of us know, you all might know because you're in the buildings, the police officers might know because they're in the buildings, but our city is in the middle of a huge gang war right now.
Exactly.
It affected kids all the way down to, was it second grade, Mr. Jones, that had that issue? Second grade, okay? It would be naive to think that we don't have kids that attend our secondary schools that are members of these gangs. We attended 2 expulsion hearings, and both of them, well, I attended 2. Both of the young men admitted to being involved in members of gangs, okay? So I think the important thing here is to realize that the community elected us to make hard decisions. And I think that if this is, and I don't want to make anybody upset with what I'm about to say, but I've been thinking about it. The parents of the students in which we're speaking about voted for us to make these decisions. If the teachers and the professionals in our district are saying what they are requesting what they want and what they think is the best, I think that they know more than anybody what's going to work in this district. And I just wanted to say that. It's a lot going on in the city right now. And I think we need to keep in mind that just because the kids come to school, you know, there's still that mentality around here. You know what I mean? So I think it's important that we keep that in mind. And the people that we're discussing have to be on the front lines with these scholars every single day. So our ideas and, you know, our whatever, we don't work in this building. You know, we don't work at the other buildings, you know. Some of us have, but just know that there's a lot going on that's not being said in the city itself that's going to spill over into this building on August 9th. So I think that we should keep that in mind. So that was just all I wanted to say. So we're going to take a roll call vote?
Yep, okay.
So we're going to take a roll call vote on moving this to the meeting next Wednesday, correct? Okay, board members, when I call your name.
It's just gonna be an action item.
I'll just bring an action item.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
Thank you.
Mr. President,
yes, sir.
could you please restate the motion just so everyone knows? I know she just walked in, she wasn't here for them.
I don't know. The motion is to
move this to next.
to move this discussion to the meeting next Wednesday's board meeting, correct? Okay, so we're going to conduct a roll call vote. Okay, Treasurer Luna,
Yes.
Trustee Relaford,
Yes.
Trustee King,
Yes.
Vice President McNeil,
Yes.
Assistant Secretary Treasurer McIntyre,
Yes.
Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
Okay, myself, President Clark, I vote yes, so the motion passes by 7-0. So we will discuss this next Wednesday. So continuing on with the agenda, I now turn the floor over to Trustee Relaford for the Academics Committee portion of the agenda. Academics Committee of the Whole portion, I'm sorry.
All right. I would like to call the Academic Committee of the Whole meeting to order. It is now 9:44. I will now call upon Superintendent Jones to present action to the board.
Okay, would it please the board if we batch these items?
Yes.
Yes.
So
Is
I
there-
seek a motion.
Wait,
Now,
what
I
is
will.
it?
I make a motion that you batch items 25.1, 25.2, 25.3.
Support.
Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I apologize, everyone. I understand that it's late, but after looking at the curriculum, and I understand that a lot of hard work has gone into these decisions to spend the ESSER funds, on the curriculum, but, and I would respectfully request that maybe we could put this off and have a discussion, because there's more information about these contracts. Just full disclosure, I did used to work for Norton Publishing and Top Hat Publishing, and I am a curriculum so-called expert consultant, and so this has in no way to do with any of these companies whatsoever. But SAVIS is the rename for Pearson K through 12 Learning Education. It is also the name for Authentico Professional Development, and I strenuously object to any type of Pearson education curriculum. They are a predatory company. They are like the Walmart of curriculum development. They are very pro-prison to school-to-prison pipeline. For example, and like I said, I don't want to belabor this, and I really don't want to get into this because I do know that it's late, that in the Authentico curriculum, have we gotten input from the Latinx community in terms of the Spanish curriculum? Do you have any insight into this, Trustee Luna, from your experience with the community? Because it does talk about Hispanic heritage, and I know that when we were doing community input, there was the expression from the Latinx Center that was an offensive term, and here we have a curriculum that actually says it's about Hispanic culture.
I would say, through you, Madam Chair, to Trustee McIntyre, there's a robust debate. A lot of Latinos, Hispanics, Latinx individuals, there's a deep debate about how we use it, so there's not really a homogeneous view on this term, but I would also say this, if I could, Madam Chair. I know to your point it's getting late. Could we still move this to the next meeting and then do our own research and then discuss it again next week? Could you support that?
I would support the other board. I cannot, in good conscience, vote for, knowing what I know about Pearson as a company, I cannot vote for it. So I would respectfully not want us to separate the batch, because
Point of information.
I will vote for one of them, but not two that are connected to Pearson.
Point of information.
Yes.
Through you to Trustee McIntyre, could you provide the documentation of the switch of the two? Thank you.
It's a point of information, a simple Google search, like.
I did.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, if you would like, how deep of a dive do you want to go? Because I've actually done research on it.
Send it to me.
Sorry?
Just send it to me. I'm sorry. Through you to.
How deep of a dive? How much research
I know
do
you go
want?
deep, so you go as deep as you like to go. Just send it to me. I'm doing my research now, but thanks.
What?
I say, as far as you want to go, you just send it to me, please.
Send what to
Whatever,
you?
whatever information that you have.
All of it?
I guess. Send it to me. I have the whole week.
Any further questions? I have a question. I guess as an academic chair, I didn't see this. Is this something I should have seen?
Ms. Peters said in the meeting that you all were in, she mentioned the new curriculums coming forward.
Well, she didn't talk about these. But okay, I don't have a problem with it because I truly trust the academic leadership. And on the sidebar, Ms. Fields and Ms. Moore, if you all took offense to what I didn't mean it that way, I was talking about safety. And if I offended you, I apologize, because it was not my intent. I just didn't want to put a title on you all that didn't belong.
Ms. Rutherford, I appreciate your apology, but unnecessary in this space, so I thank you for that.
Okay.
I understand that some Sometimes we're just talking, and it
Okay.
just gets out of the way, in the way.
All right. Any further discussion on batch? Any further discussion? Discussion? I'm sorry. Dr. McNeil, go ahead.
Trustee Reggie, Trustee Melody.
Yes.
We sit on the academic, you the chairperson, on that. And this is just a carry on from our last academic meeting, that we had discussed. Your input, I want to hear.
This wasn't what we all discussed on that Zoom. I mean, was it a Zoom call? A Zoom call? I don't think this came up. We've already approved that when we had that discussion about. This is something different.
So, do you think it should go back? What we do?
I think, I mean, I'm not against it coming. I don't see where.
A point of information, I
I'll go
would
ahead.
wonder about the 25.3 is not the one that I'm contesting. It's the 25.1 and 25.2. So I believe there's no objection, unless anyone else has, to 25.3. We could move that forward, but respectfully, if we could maybe take it back to committee or
I'm sorry, for
whatever.
clarification, are you talking about 25.3 going back? Or you
No,
wanna
we could
appro-
move
Or you
25.3
wanna move it?
forward.
Okay. Any objection to that in batching you all? Okay, so I'm gonna restate the motion to batch. The motion was made to batch Resolution 25.1 and Resolution 25.2.
And 3.
Is there any? I'm- Did I not
That's
say
what
that
she
right?
wants to go
Point of
back.
order.
Oh, I'm sorry. You want
She's
to,
asking for it.
I'm sorry, who?
It look like she's asking for it.
You want 23 to move forward, 25.3?
Right.
And, okay, gotcha. So we're going to separate 25.3.
Need to be a
Okay, so is there a motion for that?
Point of order.
Go ahead.
The current motion on the floor is the batching.
Yep.
So if there's an amendment to the batching,
She just made an amendment to it.
so you made the, so through each of the chairs,
To-
you made the amendment, someone seconded it?
She,
I can make the amendment if the,
I thought she made it, didn't you?
Yeah, to move 20.25.
to move 25 point, to
25.3.
separate 25.3 from the batch.
So that's an amendment.
I thought you were moving it. So you want to make an amendment to the motion to batch, right? The motion was to batch 25.1, 2, and 3. You want to move 25.3 forward and hold back 25.1 and 25.2.
Right.
So the amendment to the motion is to remove 25.1 and 25.2.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so it's been properly motion is second. Is there any discussion? Seeing there's no discussion, let's take a roll call vote. Please say yes or no. Secretary Perkins?
Yes.
Treasurer Luna?
No.
I'm sorry, sir?
No.
Trustee King?
No.
President Clack?
No.
Vice President McNeil? Assistant Treasurer, Secretary Treasurer McIntyre?
Yes.
I myself say yes. The motion fails of 1, 2, 3, 4 to 3, so therefore the batch stays intact. Okay, so with that being said, is there any questions? Any discussions, I'm sorry? Dr. McNeil, go ahead.
Can you speak into the?
Speaking to the mic, please. That's okay.
No.
No. The motion to make amendment to the batch failed, so therefore it stays in its entirety. So the motion to batch 25.1, 25.2, and 25.3 still stands. Is there any
Yep.
discussion? Seeing there's no discussion,
I do.
I'm sorry. Trustee King, go ahead.
Superintendent Jones, does this, so let's say the board does not approve these. That mean we go back to the old curriculum that we had?
So the teachers will have to go research something different than they have chosen as a.
That
as
take a
what-
long time, right?
Well, if the board chooses that they don't want the staff to use what they have chosen, they would have to go back to the table and find another curriculum.
And clarification, who all, I think it's a three, I mean, I don't know who's gonna answer that. Who's all on this team to choose these curriculums?
Teachers and the curriculum team.
Teachers that teaches these.
The one who was on the call with us that day.
Yes, but also teachers that
Yeah.
teach
Also,
Spanish?
you talking
Okay.
about to make the decision of what
Got you.
is being used was teachers and the curriculum team.
And then the curriculum team brought it forward. This is what teachers
Correct.
decided, right?
Correct.
So if I
So-
could, there were teachers that vetted these particular curricular items. There were opportunities to interact with the material. I'm just going over my notes because this is a quick,
Yeah.
I'm just entering into it right now. And it was particularly selected by elective teachers who had the opportunity to review the process and to review in a review process. But they looked at the materials, yes.
So teachers had, the ones in these areas had access to that?
Yes.
Okay. And I remember, if I recall, Ms. Smith, that's on the academic team, she came, presented to the board. She kind of pleaded, which she shouldn't have to, but she pleaded to the board to approve the items that they present forward. If teachers are in these curriculums, in these spaces, this is once again, who are we to stop? I mean, not what to stop, but they're asking for it again, and you don't want to give it to them. I get some concerns. I'm open to seeing what those are, but I believe our district is, very knowledgeable about DEI. We understand all those implications. If the teachers ask for it, give it to them. If the academic team, which is oh my, they are wonderful people. I was able to sit in and went through Zoom. They did the work for it. Now we're going to make extra work on them. They are already short-staffed. They will have to scramble again. Now we're putting more work on them. Look, again, remember, board, when we make these decisions, who has to do the work? We're not a part of that work. We're putting more work on individuals that's worked a lot, too much. I'm just saying, remember the ripple effects that what we decide, what happens.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
That's
So-
it for me, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Just
Trustee Luna.
So just so I'm clear, the amendment failed, so now we're debating the motion to batch.
Yes.
Okay,
25.1, 25.2, and 25.3.
that's my only comment.
Is anyone else? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. President Clack, go ahead.
So I just
Can you
did a-
talk into the mic, sir?
Yes, ma'am. I
Thank
just
you.
did a quick Google search of Pearson reviews and Pearson online reviews. Are we going to be utilizing the online part of this too for the distance learning? Would this be?
There's no distance learning,
I mean, for the
but we will use online tools.
right. Okay. So in this same curriculum.
In the particular curriculum that you're talking about, yes.
Okay. So
If you're on the curriculum that we,
well, I just
Can you
Googled
both
the
talk
whole-
in the mic so
Yeah,
everybody
I just
can
Googled.
hear?
I just Googled all the reviews, and I was looking. They scored overall 4.6 out of 5 on the reviews, and for the online section, they scored 95% or higher in all different sections of what was being looked at. So, I'm looking at the reviews. I'm looking at the statements that the parents are writing and that the students are writing as well. So. They've got a lot of 5-star and a lot of 4.5 and a lot of 4-star ratings. So I'm for it. I trust that you guys and the academic subcommittee know what you're doing.
Any further questions? Seeing there's no further questions, I'm going to call the vote. I'll restate the motion. The motion is to batch Resolution 25.1, 25.2, and 25.3. Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
Assistant Secretary Treasurer McIntyre.
No.
Did you say no?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Vice President McNeil.
Yes.
Treasurer Luna.
Yes.
Trustee King.
Yes.
President Clack.
Yes.
And myself, Melody. Trustee Rutherford, yes. Vote passes 6 to 1. 6 yes and 1 no. I seek a motion to approve, to move this forward to the regular meeting.
I make a motion that we send action item 2.51, 2.52, and 2.513 as a batch to the regular meeting.
Okay, with seeing that it's been properly motioned and second, is there any discussion?
Can we please repeat that? We just had a tragedy over here, so I just.
Can
need
you
to repeat the motion, please?
The motion was to batch and approve resolutions 2.1, 2.2, and 25.1, 25.2, and 25.3 to the regular meeting.
To the next meeting, right?
The
Yeah,
regular
okay.
meeting. To the regular board meeting next week,
Okay,
okay?
yes.
Any questions?
Thank
Any
you.
further discussion?
Nope, thank you.
With that being said, when I call your name, would you please vote yes or no? Treasurer Luna,
Yes.
Trustee King,
Yes.
President Clack,
Yes.
Vice President McNeil,
Yes.
Assistant Secretary Treasurer McIntyre. I'm sorry?
She had to leave.
Oh, she's not here. Okay, absent. All right, Secretary Perkins?
Yes.
Myself, Trustee Rutherford, vote yes. The motion passes 6. 1 abstention. So moves. Any more further business? Seeing no further business for the academic, I declare the Academic Committee of the Whole meeting adjourned. It is now 10:02. I now turn the floor over to President Clack.
Just briefly, board members, the 2 board members that just left because of a situation that just happened in the home. So they're not just leaving, they're leaving because a situation took place in one of the board members' home and they need to go. I just wanted to make sure you all understood that.
Okay, so do any board members have any comments before we adjourn?
I do. I
Yes,
do want to
Treasurer.
express some positive thoughts to my 2 colleagues who are leaving right now. Second, and I'll be quick, I want to give a shout out to Tiana McIntyre. About a month ago, she took it upon herself to go to McKinley Middle School on the grounds and pick up garbage for 2 days straight on her own. So that's a big feat. That's a really nice thing she did, and I think we need more folks like that in our community. But again, folks are tired of doing that, but that's a different conversation. This weekend, Saturday, July 15th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., there'll be a community cleanup at Flint Northern. There'll be supplies, so gloves, litter picker-uppers, and there'll be breakfast and lunch served, so if you can make it, I think the neighborhood would really appreciate that. Those are my comments.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
you know I got to push. So seeing that we were able to come to Southwestern today to have our meeting, this is very prime opportunity for us to move our meetings around the district into our different schools. This is easy to do. I don't know how easy it was. This is doable. I would just say it is doable. I'm not saying we have to rotate it all the time, but at least throughout the year, we have 1 board meeting at each school. It's doable. So, thanks.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, so the Board of Education will hold its regular board meeting on Wednesday, July 19th at 6:30 p.m., location to be determined. Seeing no further business, I declare this board meeting Committee of the Whole meeting adjourned at 10:04 p.m.